What's up, everybody? I'm Dr. Winters, and we are back again, and I am burnt. And I'm not gonna lie, when I move around, it hurts a lot. But not as bad as some of the teeth in these videos that you guys tagged me in this week, because they are crazy. And let's be honest, that's what your guys are here for, because I'm the internet's dentist, and I basically watch your videos every week and tell you what the heck is going on. So we might as well get right into it. And also, make sure to like and subscribe so I can get to 10 million followers to get this dang bracket off my teeth. It would help a lot. All right, wearing 2 pairs of rubber bands so that I can get my braces off tomorrow. Oh my gosh, what you got, some little vertical ones? Yep, some settling elastics, good deal. You know, all right, the age-old question, and guess what? You know, I love the tenacity there. You're really trying hard to get yourself out of braces. But what if I told you that doing this could actually potentially slow down you getting out braces? I know, it's weird. But the reason is, you see, because braces is a force load system, and you actually need light, continuous forces over time to move teeth. And it's because you have this very intricate system of your tooth. So what happens is your tooth sits in the bone, and you have these things called PDL fibers that sit around them. And then the way that you move the tooth into that system decides whether the bone needs to dissolve, to build, and to move that tooth across, your mouth. And the problem is, if you push too hard against that system, aka you add too much force, instead of the tooth actually nicely moving through the bone and through your teeth, it actually ends up dissolving the tooth because of a trauma-like response. And so your body actually shuts down the movement of that tooth because it's apparently too much force against that system. So adding double rubber bands can actually add too much force because, we predict the exact amount of force we want to use. That's why you have different rubber bands. You have the parrots and the rams and all the different animals and all that. That's because those are actually different forces that we're putting on particular sets of wires that we know aren't going to go over that threshold of too much force. And that's actually why we don't like people doing their own braces and stuff, is because they don't understand how much force they're putting on. And if they put too big a wire in too early, it creates too much force, causes problems, and can even cause permanent damage to those teeth. So will wearing 2 rubber bands get your braces off faster? Probably not. In fact, actually what will get them off more is actually just wearing the rubber bands and wearing them over a long period of time and not taking them off, or barely taking them off, because time in wear is way greater than the force in wear. And I tell my patients this all the time, it actually takes over 8 hours of force on your teeth before they even start to move at all. And if you only wear them 8 hours and then you stop wearing them, you basically did nothing for that entire day. That's why we want you to wear them 24 hours a day, take them out to eat, take them out to brush your teeth, and then you'll get past that 8 hours, your teeth will start to move, and then you'll continually move through that process. If you're only wearing it at night for 8 hours, you're just about to start moving those teeth, and then you reset everything throughout the day, and then you go back in the night and you wear it again, and you wonder why teeth are not moving. That's the reason why. So use the force we tell you to and wear them constantly, and you will see those teeth move. And coincidentally, get out of braces faster. When the dentist missed us, oh my gosh, is that a nail file? Jesus, people are still doing this in 2026? Are we in 2027? I don't even know this. Oh my gosh. So yeah, definitely would not do this. Okay, now what she's basically doing is she's saying, my teeth are uneven for whatever reason. And if you actually pause it and look, you can see her lower teeth are actually kind of not straight like this. They're down like this. Now, this could be an error in the braces that she got, maybe, potentially, or it could be an uneven wear pattern. So she could just be grinding on one side of her teeth. And so what that's doing is wearing down one side to make it more even. And so what she did is to kind of fix this, is she's gonna go and she's just gonna grind down all of her teeth. There's a couple reasons why that's a bad idea. One is you only have so much enamel. So if you're just wearing away that enamel, you can get into the yellower dentin area, and then even potentially the pulp. You'll see a little red dot if you go too far. And if you do that, well, now you gotta get a root canal and a crown. So that's a bad idea. And 2, if you remove too much enamel, your teeth become really, really sensitive, and you can cause issues that way. Now, the crazy part is we actually do this on purpose in the orthodontic office. It's called Hollywood, or enameloplasty, which would be the scientific term. But we know exactly how much we can take off. We're smoothing, we're doing things, and we're doing things in a proper manner that aren't going to harm your teeth. Alex comes in hot saying this is actually incredibly dangerous and can cause reversible damage, so don't do this. I think she meant to say can cause irreversible damage, and she is very right. It's not reversible. It's definitely irreversible. You can't grow back enamel. And Kiara says it's fun until you hit a nerve. Yeah, that would be very bad. That's basically that red spot that you would see. If you see that, you've gone too far. And actually, you see it a lot when people fall and break their front tooth in half, and you can pop through there. So just maybe, maybe it's better to just not. Oh my gosh, one of the comments close says, what does the Bentist think about this? Well, my thoughts are, just don't do this. Why? Or in 2026, 6 years later, I've been talking about this stuff, and people are still doing this today. It's almost like they haven't seen any of my videos. And Danny says, as a dental assistant, I have no words. Well, I have some words for you. Don't do this. Hope that helps. All right, whoever said brush your teeth with baking powder, I hope you, okay, that's aggressive. Baking powder. I know that's just gonna taste disgusting. Disgusting. But she's, props to her, she's going for it. Ooh, I can just feel the bitterness in my mouth. You see, the problem is, I don't think she understood the situation here because it should have been baking soda, not baking powder. I'm pretty sure baking powder actually has acid in it, which is probably not good, but it's like a mess. The reason why baking soda works is because it's more basic. It neutralizes the pH in your mouth, and it's also a pretty decent, it's not abrasive at getting stuff off, but it cleans your teeth pretty nicely. Baking powder, on the other hand, has that acidic, like cream of tartar or whatever. You don't want to be using that on your mouth. Yeah, and it probably tastes terrible as well. Now, even if this was baking soda, which people use all the time, in fact, there's baking soda toothpaste. I have no problem with baking soda. In fact, that's a misnomer that it actually damages your teeth. It actually has a pretty low relative dent and abrasion limit, so it actually probably won't damage your teeth. So I actually don't have a problem with baking soda in a toothpaste at all. I actually think it's kind of good sometimes. It makes things taste a little funky, but I think it's good. But the problem is it really doesn't add anything beyond that. There's no fluoride or nanohydroxyapatite to help repair or strengthen the teeth. And obviously, like in our Zero Pro, we have actual direct attacking of the bacteria that are causing it. So there's nothing like that per se in baking soda by itself, but it's not going to harm you. And a major part of cleaning your teeth and getting rid of disease and stuff like that is just cleaning and brushing the gunk off of your teeth. And so will it work? Yes, it will. Is it as good as some of these other things that you can get? Nah, not really, but I don't have a problem with it, especially if you substitute it every now and then. The really big goal is just brush and floss your teeth mechanically. Everything else is a bonus from there, for sure. That was the first comment. Baking soda, not baking powder. Exactly. And Frankie said, I did this and it tasted so bad. Well, luckily there are baking soda toothpaste you can find that tastes a little bit better if you really want to add baking soda in yourself. You can also just take a normal toothpaste and maybe put a little bit of baking soda on top, like a little dab, and then that could do it too. Maybe different options. Either way, don't use baking powder, please. This is your sign to change your tongue ring jewelry. Oh, she's got a gold. Is that a gold onlay in there? Or is that just the camera? There's probably a lot of people that are wondering, say, Bentist, I don't even know what's going on here. I'm confused. Why is she saying tongue ring jewelry, all this? Well, let's pause it on the teeth here. We can see 3 different teeth. Now, what we're seeing is probably like a black light or ultraviolet light. We use these in dentistry sometimes to figure out where the composite fillings are. And so obviously that middle one is a gold or amalgam onlay, right? It's going across the teeth, that's fine. Now those other ones you're seeing on either side, you're gonna see a little bit of hue of purple. And that's actually the filling material that you've got there. Now on one side, you can see this big one here on the inside here. And on this other tooth, you're seeing this massive, big one there. And so what she's probably talking about is a very common thing we see, and it actually looks like this one on the inside is broken off, is when we get somebody with a metal tongue ring, especially the metal ball attachment, they bite down accidentally all the time. We bite our tongues all the time naturally. We bite lips, things like this on accident. And so when you're chewing, and then something gets over there, that little ball gets over there, you bite down on it, guess what happens? Your tooth cracks and breaks. And so yes, it says story time. As you can see, I already have a filling on this tooth, it's pretty deep. I did bite down on my metal tongue ring and had to get a crown because of how much tooth I've lost. I bit down on my tongue ring bar, and as you can see, I bit it and broke it clean right off. I love my tongue ring, but it is not worth it. And that's actually true. We see this all the time, and unfortunately, your teeth are not tools, and they're definitely not meant to be biting on metal balls all the time. And so yes, we see this all the time. We also see a little thing right here that we get on tongue rings from people that put it in the center and they bite on it. You'll see a little hole right here in the middle and just chips on the front teeth everywhere because of this as well. Exie said, as soon as mine healed, I changed it to a silicone bar. Everybody who has a tongue piercing should. That's what I was gonna say. I was like, if you really have to have a tongue piercing, get the silicone ball and the silicone rod. That way it at least protect your teeth somewhat from stuff like this, but you can still crack a tooth. And even Megan says, yep, I lost a tooth because I cracked it all the way down from a tongue ring. And Maddie Claire says, as a dental assistant, any mouth piercing is going to damage your teeth in some way. And I will actually agree with her on this one because I have never seen somebody with long-term mouth jewelry going on that has not damaged or chipped their teeth in some way over a long period of time. So, maybe just, I don't know, don't pierce your tongues and do all that stuff. And then you will save your teeth, because, I feel like your teeth is better than a little cool looking tongue ring. If at least you think it looks cool. I don't really like tongue rings. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. You guys let me know down below if you think it's worth having a tongue ring for aesthetics, if it means you're gonna damage your teeth. For me, it's a no-go. Watch me get my veneer with Gorilla Glue. Oh my gosh. So aggressive. Jesus. She had a veneer pop off, okay. I'm scared that she says she's gonna reattach it with Gorilla Glue. We're gonna get to that. But it does look like this is actually a microdont a little bit, which is just basically she had a smaller lateral. And so they filled in those gaps with a veneer. So let's go ahead and see what's going on here.
This is why we keep Gorilla Glue on hand at all times.
Okay, so technically that's not the Gorilla Glue I thought of. That's just Gorilla Glue's super glue, which actually is cyanoacrylate, which is actually something that you could use to reattach a veneer if you had to in a pinch. Oh my gosh, her with the screaming. She's so extra. It's not that deep. It's not that deep.
The craziest thing ever. Yay!
And there you go. So she's got it back on there. Now, a couple things that I note too is obviously she was probably missing some laterals, had some issues here. She actually, you can see this dark gum line she's got over this top left area. That means she was probably missing these teeth in general. So instead of getting braces to fix it, they probably just did veneers across the front here, or maybe they just did these two teeth. It could be that way too, but it is a way of dealing with it. Now, the problem is when they fall off a lot, which happens with veneers, you can't really just super glue it. I mean, it's a temporary fix you could do, but it's just gonna keep popping off. And the problem is because you actually need to etch the enamel. You actually need to do chemical processing on the enamel to get it to attach to a certain glue. And so it's just not gonna work. So she needs to go into a dentist's office, she needs to get it polished down, and she needs to get it re-glued back on there properly. And then she needs to probably do some bite registration and take a look and see why she's hitting so hard that's causing it to bite off. Unfortunately, these ones in the front, it happens a lot, and it just happens to be right where you're smiling all the time. And actually, Millie brings up a good point here. She says, when you give veneers, do they always angle out like that? And so that's no, I was gonna bring that up a little bit because, you know, unfortunately veneers as a crutch, like maybe she didn't get braces, she just decided to get veneers and said, screw it, right? But if you don't get braces to fix the bite issue, then you still have a bad bite with veneers, which is gonna cause you to bite into this angle, which is probably what she's doing with this flared out veneer look here. And it's just gonna cause them to keep popping off over time. So she may even need to get her bite corrected and the veneers redone to really make it work. Destiny says, also the gingival margin around number 7 is extremely dark and looks suspicious. It's not suspicious, that's just an implant. That happens with implants. You're seeing the metal come through the gum tissue there. And that's why I don't like doing implants here in the front. Actually, what we normally do is a canine substitution where we bring that canine over and we open up a space back here and then we put the implant back here so you can't see it and you're smiling in the front. Either way, super glue, not Gorilla Glue, could actually work for a temporary reason, but there's going to be bigger things that she needs to get fixed to make sure that this stays permanent and looks good forever. But you know, it is what it is, I guess. I don't know, you guys let me know. Going through my memories, but just me serving face up and getting my, oh my gosh, that's, what? There is no way that's real. What are we, oh my gosh, either she has, okay, no, that's a weird, like I'm seeing like a little wire thing come out here. What is that? And her fingers warped? Okay, so either one of two things has to happen. Either this is AI, which I don't think it is because this was posted, maybe it is, I don't know, or it's a face filter, and I'm pretty sure it's a face filter. Now that being said, it doesn't mean that you can get a pretty wonky looking face when you get your wisdom teeth taken out. And by no means is it normal. It just depends on the level of impaction of your teeth. If your teeth are already in and their wisdom teeth are just barely not making it, they're easy to take out. You're not gonna have a ton of swelling. If they're very sideways, impacted and crazy, and they have to really go in there and kind of break them up and do all this drilling and filling and stuff, then yes, you're gonna have a trauma response. Your cheeks are gonna be pooped out like this. They're gonna be all purple, but that's a pretty rare occasion. So she probably does not look anywhere near this bad. And actually in this day and age, getting your wisdom teeth is actually pretty easy and pretty simple to do. And you're back at school within a day or two. So it's not even that big of a deal anymore. Now for some people with super impacted ones and it looks gnarly, then yeah, maybe a little bit more, but still. Oh my gosh, Poo Monkey with the, is that like the homunculus? Is that what they call it? The homunculus or whatever? She's gotta have something going on. Claire says, please tell me this is a filter. I'm getting my wisdom teeth out tomorrow. Yes, it's more than likely a filter or AI. I don't know where those little wire things are coming from. That was kind of weird to me. But yeah, no, you're fine. You're gonna be just okay. You're literally gonna fall asleep, take some sleepy juice, count back from 3. You're gonna wake up and be like, what the heck just happened? I don't know, my wisdom teeth are out, and it's gonna be over like that. I knew I've seen this before. Who is, okay, I don't know why, but this is weirdly giving me a flashback. Somebody tell me where this picture is from. I've seen this purple man somewhere. Please tell me. But basically, don't worry. It's okay. Wisdom teeth are normal. A lot of people get them out. It's not as big of a deal as it used to be, and you will be just fine. And you're not gonna look like this crazy faced lady here. Or you might, depending on how bad your wisdom teeth are impacted. Day 30 of chewing gum with my front teeth to see if it fixes my overbite. Final day. Well, you know, I'm not gonna lie, he's not really showing me his overbite. So, oh, I can see his, let's pause it there on the end there where I can see him. A couple things. He's got a deep bite, okay? It's actually a class 2 division 2 bite. It's a special type of bite where basically you have this overbite and so your teeth want to touch each other. And so what happens is they start to go back and tip back like this. And so he's got a deep bite, but because his body's trying to touch his teeth because he's actually got a class 2 or an overbite, which is causing that deep bite. Anyways, doesn't matter. The question is, can chewing gum with your front teeth magically drive up that bite and get it there? Now, the interesting thing is we use this type of biomechanics in braces. We call them bite blocks or anterior bite props. They're these little things that go on the back of your 2 front teeth. And if you have a deep bite, we actually put it on the back of your teeth. So when you bite down, you jam into them, and over a long period of time, they start to drag and drive those teeth away from you, fixing your deep bite. So the theory, it makes sense. Now the problem is that chewing gum is not gonna work. The force is not enough, and you would have to literally be chewing gum 24/7 all day long with that. And the other issue is he has that tipped back teeth. So if he fixed that, he still has this kind of, this jaw issue going on. He really needs braces. He needs to deflare these, figure out he has an overbite, and then wear some rubber bands to fix that and get it back to normal. So is it gonna fix his jawline? No. Is it gonna get rid of his overbite? No. Was he close and on the right track? Actually, kind of. So that's interesting to say, but unfortunately, no, it is not gonna fix his issue. DNR says, dude, just start mewing with a perfect bite, and it took me only 2.5 months from an overbite. Now, there is some pros to mewing. I actually do agree that there are tons of good things that can happen with oral facial muscle control and getting your bite in the right process and all that type of stuff. The thing is it's not going to just magically fix a lot of his issues just mewing, you know, because he's got a lot more than that. He's got deflaring, he's got actual physical skeletal bite issues, stuff like that. So not gonna do the best, but it will help a little bit. Probably more than chewing gum with his front teeth. And Eaterin says, wait, how long do you chew? He says, I do 1 to 3 hours at that. Now, like I said, there is physiological stuff happening. And I mean, you might get a little bit of doing that, but it's not gonna be enough to completely fix, you know, an overbite or anything like that. And like I said, he's still got all these other issues that are going on, but dang, you know, it's just not gonna work as good as he thought. I would like to see a side by side though, to see how much he may have got a little bit. But regardless, I will tell you what will work: braces. It's almost like we've already come up with things to actually physically change and manipulate your body while you're growing. It's crazy, isn't it? But you know, it's probably not gonna hurt. I mean, actually, technically it could cause TMJ if you really overworked it and did it in a weird way. So yeah, if you're starting to have jaw pain or you're doing anything like this, probably stop. Probably don't do this, and maybe go see your orthodontist and get it actually fixed. That'd be sweet. But you know, what do I know? I'm just alrighty. Oh, we got the rubber bands of doom. Yeah, no, those are pretty normal stuff that you see there. Obviously, you know Loki, and then he puts the band on. Okay, so what we've got here, these are our spacers, okay? And so the thing is like, if we want to wrap something around the tooth like that metal band, we need some rubber to put in between there. So we actually used to do this back in the day, especially for like expanders. Still, you probably see this. We don't use those metal bands as much. And by the way, if you get braces and you're getting these bands out the gate, you're probably with an old orthodontist who is old and about to retire, because not very many people do this. We just glue the brackets on now. That being said, if you are getting an expander or something, a lot of those times they do still have some bands in there to keep it stable and stuff, so that's pretty normal. Either way, weirdly enough, these are very painful. It's kind of the same way that when you first get your braces, they start to get sore and stuff. Well, you put it between your teeth, it feels like you got a popcorn kernel stuck between there, and then all of a sudden those teeth get super sore for about a week or two. But then they push those teeth away, so you've got some space to then put a band down in between there, and they actually work pretty good. That being said, they are, for a lot of people, the not so fun thing they had to do during braces. And so you got Taylor right there, the very first one. Spacers hurt. Yeah, they do, but luckily it is kind of something that just lasts long enough. It's not like terrible, but it is like you feel like you got a really bad cavity back there, but you really just don't. And then G says, most traumatizing experience of my life. I get it, you guys don't like the little rubber bands that go in between your teeth. I get it. That is funny, because I think I've had more complaints over spacers than I have braces or anything else that we do, weirdly enough. That being said, like I said, most people don't have the band, so you're probably not going to get this in your braces journey unless you need an expander or some type of a device like that. And if you do, it's only temporary. It's not that big of a deal.
I've had 4 root canals, 30 plus cavities, and 1 extracted tooth in the last 7 years. Try and beat my record.
You know, I would get mad at her, but guess what? I also had a lot of cavities whenever I was a kid.
I know friends and family that don't really brush their teeth, eat sugary foods all the time, and they go to the dentist and they have nothing wrong with them. But I am unfortunately not one of those people. I take good care of my teeth, and yet I go to the dentist and there's always something wrong with that.
And what if I told you it's not your fault? Because the problem with oral disease is it's not because of the sugar. It's not because of your brushing or not brushing most of the time. It's the bacteria in your mouth. We all have this thing called an oral microbiome, and it's comprised of good bacteria and bad bacteria. And the bacteria that causes cavities specifically is called S. mutans. Some people have it, some people don't have it. So you can eat whatever you want and not get cavities if you don't have it. And if you do have a lot of it, well then you can clean as much as you want and there's still a high chance you're gonna get cavities. And how did you get it, my ass? Well, you got it passed down from your parents. Your parents kissed you, drank after you, whatever. They gave you their bacteria and then you just got exactly what your family gave you. And legit, I am not trying to make this into a product placement or anything like that, but this is where like new products are coming into. We're the very first person to ever do this with our biotech nanolipid emulsion. It is the very first product in the world that actually targets the bacteria. It doesn't worry about the other stuff that doesn't really matter anymore. It's like, why not just get rid of the bacteria? And obviously this is the very first product in the world that directly attacks these bacteria. Specifically ours attacks S. mutans and P. gingivalis, but I'm sure this biolipid technology is going to come later on and get even better and better and better, and other people are going to join. We are just the first people to ever do it. So for someone like her, I would love to. This is Jordan Kelly. If you reach out to me, I would love to give you our Zero Pro because this is the first ever biotech toothpaste in the world, and it will directly delete the bacteria that are causing your issues, specifically P. gingivalis, which is gum disease, and S. mutans, which is the cavity one. Now you can finally take that oral microbiome that you have that's been causing you issues since you were a kid and finally reduce those levels down to where you don't have to go to the dentist worrying if you're gonna get another cavity. And it's just gonna get even crazier from here with biotech. I wouldn't doubt it if we solve oral disease completely in like 3 to 5 years. And that's gonna be a crazy time. I'm just glad that we get to be a part of it. And Jordan, reach out to me and I'll give you some Zero Pro. Your sign not to get, oh my gosh, that dude's got a wire sticking right out of his teeth. Boy, are you using craft scissors to try and cut that? Bro, you can't even cut a piece of paper with those things most of the time. What makes you think you're gonna cut a nickel titanium wire with that thing? By the way, these wires are really hard to cut. If it's a really thin, flexible wire like the early ones, sometimes you can get away with like a nail clipper. Really, you need a wire cutter for this, if possible. And then even then you're gonna break some brackets off. Yeah, let's say he's not gonna get that thing cut. He's looking at it like, what the heck? I thought scissors were supposed to cut things. Yeah, no, those wires are impenetrable. I'm telling you. This is what you guys come to me with when you come to the office. You're like, I don't know how it broke. You just like, I was breathing and it just snapped in half. No, this wire is impenetrable. It's like Superman, okay? You can't just, it's a man of steel. You can't hurt it. So I know if it broke in half, you must have really done something to get that out of there. Not to mention the 4 or 5 brackets you broke along with it, you know, from breathing air. C-Smoke says you're supposed to make an emergency call to your orthodontist to get that fixed. And yes, that would be what you would do rather than rip it out of your mouth and cut it with a wire. You know, in fact, you could just take that wire and tuck it up underneath those brackets most of the time, and it's gonna be out of your way and you won't even notice it until you can get back into your orthodontist. Little pro tip for you. See, that's what I'm talking about, Mona Lisa. You're educated. You're not supposed to take that off and tuck it into the back until you... Maybe I am doing some good for the world. Maybe I am teaching you guys something. And Asia says use a nail clipper. And while the nail clipper does work for your very first like 1 or 2 wires, after that the wires are way too thick and you're just gonna break your nail clipper and then be frustrated on top of that. But yeah, maybe just call your orthodontist. They'll figure it out for you. It takes 2 seconds to clip a wire for you, or just put it right back in place. But what do I know? All right, your teeth are so pretty. The crap I've been through, oh my gosh. Oh yeah, bro, you don't see those very often. Moving it forward, getting everything out. Oh man. Yeah, I'll explain that. And then you got to go into braces after. Okay, so yes, I understand this person's been through a lot. So what exactly is going on? This is a rare thing. You don't see this very often. This is what we call a twin block appliance. So if you like pause it there on the side, you can see that you got little blocks on this side down here and then blocks up here on top. And so what happens is basically we use things called rubber bands on the braces to pull your bite. Like if you have an override, you need rubber bands to kind of pull in different directions, right? And so what this is basically these blocks hit each other and then slide the jaw forward. So it kind of does what rubber bands do without braces. So it's just the retainer version of rubber bands pretty much, called a twin block. Now this one's a little bit different. As you can see, it's got the expander built into it. And sometimes you see that as well, so they can do some expansion while you're doing this. These are sometimes used in people pre-braces. We call it phase 1. So if you're like 9, 10 years old, you don't have all your permanent teeth in yet, you're waiting for some of those permanent teeth to come in, you can use this to kind of get ahead of the game until you get into into full braces when you're like 12 years old. And then yes, when you're done with everything, you would get the braces to finish up everything and make sure it's all looking good from there. But this is something, you don't see it very often, but it is something that is still used. Isabel says, are the retainer things before braces really obvious? And you know, twin blocks are pretty bulky, so yeah, you're not gonna be able to talk very well with all this stuff in your mouth, and you're gonna be doing it. It's more something you wear like at night and during, you know, after school hours. It would be great for you to wear it all the time, like face gear, but you know, we know that most of you guys don't wanna wear that, so that's why it's just so tough to do this stuff. A lot of times we just say, we're just gonna wait until phase 2, we'll just fix it all there. There's kind of no point in doing phase 1 a lot of the times unless they really need expansion, to be honest. Alice says, I'm getting the twin block with braces in 19 days and I'm counting down to hell. Well, don't worry too much. It's not that big of a deal. I would just say, make sure you wear it. It does a good job if you wear it all the time, but if you're taking it off and on and not really doing what you're supposed to, it's not really gonna do much for you. Either way, once again, most people don't get these crazy things. Most people just get the braces, wear the rubber bands, and do a great job. But if you do get it, it's not the end of the world. Just listen to your orthodontist, do what you're supposed to do, and you'll get out of it lickety-split with an amazing Hollywood smile. When I notice a bruise...
I know what kind of man you are.
Wait, what is the... Wait, what?
I know what kind of man you are.
Okay. For you guys who are wondering why I'm smiling and laughing, I might be blushing right now. I don't know where to go with this. Yeah, no, this is a thing. This is a thing in dentistry. Yes, it is. And for those confused that are tagging me in this, saying, what does she mean by that? How do I portray this? Now, there are certain actions that cause bruising. Let's say, you know, if I hit my arm, I can get a bruise. You're following me so far. So there are certain things in the mouth that if get hit back there, you can also get a bruise. And we see a lot of these things, you know, in the mouth, a lot of different things. You can tell if someone's a smoker. You can tell a lot of different things. You can tell if someone's got cancer. You can also tell someone's orientation, if you know what I'm talking about. But in all reality, though, to bring it back to seriousness, there is a reason why we're trained to do this, and it's not to out people or have them come out of the closet, okay? It's actually to protect mainly children from, let's just say, abuse, if you know what I'm talking about. And people have caught multiple of instances of this happening and able to save kids' lives because they are able to find this stuff. So while it is funny in some sense, and yes, there are, you know, you can catch some people coming out the closet before they want to, just by noticing some things like this. By the way, we have patient, you know, doctor confidentiality. It's not we're gonna go tell your parents or anything like that, unless it's an abusive thing and you're younger and all these things. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, this is a very tough thing to talk about. My dad is a dentist and this is how I had to come out, bro. Wow, yeah, no, that happens. And I can only imagine your dad figuring it out because that would just be awkward. And then she said, I've had the same dentist since I was a baby and I went and he side-eyed me. You know, it is very awkward. I'm not gonna lie, that's all I'm gonna say about that. It's not what you think. I played bass clarinet. You know, to be fair, there is probably other reasons it could happen. It's just, that's the first thing that our minds go to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I just like popsicles. I don't know what you're doing with popsicles to make it do that, but stop. All right, how to floss properly. So stop flossing like this, and instead floss like this. She's got really good gum tissue. You see how there's no bleeding going on, there's no irritation, there's no whatever. So basically what she's talking about, stop doing this, is just popping the flosser in and out. Try this instead. What she's trying to say is create a C shape by pulling the floss over to one side and getting up and down the tooth. And actually, I am one of the very few dentists in the world that will say this to the end of the day. I think that floss picks work just as good as traditional floss. I know. That being said, we specifically made our floss picks to actually have a little more slack in them so you could get more of a C shape and go around them. But yes, you do have to do it correctly. And guess what? Floss is the exact same way. If you have the string floss and you're just popping it in and out, you're not doing anything either, okay? So basically what you need to do, whether you have floss or you have the floss picks, particularly mine, I believe ours are the best, to be honest. But anyways, you pop it up, you drag it over, you go up and down, you pop it over, you drag over and out, you go up and down, and then you can go out to the next one. The goal is to wrap it around the tooth and really get the entire tooth surface from top to bottom. And yes, this is a really important thing, and I wish people would floss more. And floss picks like these are so much easier to use, way easier for people to get in the habit of using these, throwing them in their purse, doing stuff like that after a meal, all that. And so I think it's just a great invention, and I think it's one of the best things that happened was switching over to floss threaders like this or floss picks like this versus traditional floss. And I know there's probably a lot of hygienists out there that are gonna hate me saying I like these better, but the stats point to more people are going to use this traditional floss, and they work pretty much just as good. Ooh, Quip coming in saying, or buy a water flosser. And while I love water flossing, and to be fair, our AquaClean do absolutely smacks Quip's water flosser across the curb and back because it's way better, but you still need some traditional floss. Even with our water flosser, I still recommend people do traditional flossing at least once a week to get anything that water flossing has missed. And Lily says it's hard to do that with gingivitis, and that's kind of the point. It's gonna be painful, it's gonna be annoying, it's gonna be irritating, you're gonna see some red stuff coming out, and guess what? Keep doing it, because every day will get better and better and better, and then you'll get that nice pink colored gum tissue that she's got there. It's nice, firm, good, it's not gonna bleed anymore, and that's when you know that gingivitis is gone. So what are your options? Are either leave the gingivitis or get rid of it. So just get rid of it. All right, this is apparently how a cavity is done. All right, we're gonna see here. All right. I mean, it's not normally made of chocolate, but it is, you know, kind of the consistency that he's showing there. Okay, we're getting it out. We're using special tools. Normally you'll use like a round burr to do this, not like that burr. And there is like some scoopers. That's the burr that you would normally use inside that kind of round burr. And he's pulling the nerve out. I'm assuming that's like, normally this is actually like a bleach type cleaner that goes in. I know he's just kind of using what he's got there, not chocolate. And you definitely don't use petroleum jelly or whatever that is, and you don't stick a little, I mean, that's like a core in post thing. Anyways, the point is you do fill it back up with some material there. You don't necessarily put a crown on top like that and do that, but you can use some stuff to kind of help you mold and shape it there, and then he's curing it. And we do use the bite paper to see where it's high, and we do drill it down. This is such a weird video because I feel like this man has dental drills and other things, but then he's like using the weirdest stuff like chocolate and UV gel and like weird things like that. So is this like getting a cavity? Kinda, sorta, in a way. I would say that the real deal is probably easier than all of these steps that he showed here, because he kind of showed not only the filling but a root canal and a crown kind of in the way there. So I mean, there's a lot in there, but it was close enough, I guess, for you guys to get the idea. Jackson said that was a root canal. See, I knew educating you guys was a good idea, and you're right. This was kind of a cavity crown root canal situation that he was doing. It was a hybrid thing, more like a Frankenstein dental procedure than anything. And Caribbean Jim says, I'd rather give birth than go to the dentist. Well, you know, hopefully my job is to educate you so you take care of your teeth enough so you're happy to go to the dentist because you don't have anything wrong with you. They're just saying, what a great job you've done. Let's get you a cleaning and get you out of here. That's my goal. Right, what do you guys? Oh my goodness gracious. That girl didn't lose one teeth, she lost a whole lot. Okay, so, wait, she's getting some wax? And just sticking some wax on there. Huh, you know, just a little wax can sell. It's like the duct tape of the tooth world, that wax. But for real though, obviously you guys tagged me a ton in this, said, Bentist, what the heck? Why is all of her teeth moving? Is braces really that dangerous? Gonna rip all my teeth out? And no, the answer is no. And you know, although you can, if you have really bad periodontal disease, gum disease, you get braces, you can cause problems like that where you will ruin your teeth over time. This is why it's really important to go see an orthodontist to do your braces. But in this case, more than likely, this girl, for whatever reason, is missing all these lower teeth. Developmentally, whatever, she's missing these teeth. And so what we do is we put these things called Pontics, little plastic teeth, in the area of the room while you're doing braces so you don't have a giant gap there. And while it does work for one tooth, well, when you've got like 5 teeth like that, they're just kind of hanging on to nothing, and there's not really anything you can do about that. I mean, that's not something that really works that well when you got that many fake teeth. So especially in these earlier wires, like this thin flexible one that this girl's in, well, it just comes out and causes a bunch of problems. So my guess is she was using the wax to maybe implant it down or something. I don't know if there's really a better way to do this. You could like bond sometimes like an entire metal band behind the back to kind of glue it onto the teeth a little bit and hold it a little bit better. But yeah, there's not really much you can do. I mean, you can get implants and stuff after the fact, but during the middle of braces, it's really tough. So sometimes you just have to leave the gap there. And then Jan says, me with braces on seeing this. Don't worry, they're fake teeth, not real teeth. And as long as you brush and floss, you're gonna be just fine. Guiglia. Yeah, I'm scared too when I saw this at first, but you know, luckily I'm an orthodontist and I knew exactly what was going on. We can just hope that these aren't real teeth, because if they are, she's got bigger problems than braces. All right, what do we got? Ooh, a rubber dam tutorial. Okay, yeah, this is great. So yeah, first you got to put that rubber dam clamp. You saw him poking some holes there. And so yeah, there we go. He's poking the holes now. We used to have a stamp that did this, but he was doing it by marking. And he's looking at him. He's adding a little lubricant there because you got to slide it on over the teeth. Now, this is because like when you have an infection, like a cavity, things like that, when we're getting all that infection out, everything like that, we don't want stuff to infect that area, right? We don't want saliva, bacteria, other things getting into this nicely cleaned area that we're putting a filling in because we don't want it to get it reinfected. Okay, looks like he's doing something with some floss here, building a little lasso loop ligature thing. I wonder what that's, oh. I'm confused at what he's doing there. I don't know. Oh, he's using it to kind of pull the rubber dam down onto the tooth to kind of tighten it down in there. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that before. That's kind of nice. And so what it's doing is it's basically just holding everything down there so that he can get in there and clean that molar off, do it. And then the final thing you want to do is this isolation check, basically so the water is not leaking. So that means that there's no saliva coming in and out of the area. But yeah, rubber dams are super cool. They're super efficient at keeping the area clean because like I said, the last thing we want to do is once we get all that bacteria out there is for your saliva or something to get in there to not only reinfect the area potentially, but also sometimes, you know, water, things like that can affect the bond and it can make that bond fail of that new, you know, filling material or crown or whatever that we're doing in the area. Kimberly says that clamp looks painful as hell. And actually, yeah, that clamp can be really painful, especially if you have like gum poofiness up on there because it's really sharp. So when it clamps on there, if you don't get it perfectly on the tooth and you get it in that gum tissue, yeah, you can cause some bleeding and it can really hurt. And then Doc Talk said, can the patient breathe? And yes, actually they can. Normally we try and cut it around the nose so that they can breathe out through the nose. It is really hard to breathe through the mouth. You can technically do it because it can kind of flap out the sides. But most of the time we try until you basically kind of like do that. And your tongue and everything is still normal behind that rubber dam. It's really just that one area that we're kind of, you know, blocking off to keep everything dry and isolated. And then lastly, Jude says, what is this procedure for? Well, it's normally for anything really. I mean, a filling, a crown, a root canal, things like that. Now, obviously most dentists don't use rubber dams for everything, especially small fillings, things like that. But for bigger procedures like root canals and crowns and stuff like that, it's definitely a lot more normal to see a rubber dam used. But some dentists don't use it at all because they have better isolation methods with other different ways of rubber dams, but rubber dam is the gold standard. All right, why did no one tell me that? Cavities are infectious, they literally spread. So it looks like she's using a little proxy brush in there to clean between the teeth. Now, I'm gonna actually pause it right here. You can see, obviously, you know, she's got all these past cavities that have kind of came from one tooth all the way down to the other teeth in that area, right? And now there's something really important to know. Now, obviously those aren't current cavities, those are fillings, those are amalgam fillings, which are metal. But the fact remains is that in that entire area, she got the infection of a cavity and they had to get rid of it by doing drillings and fillings and all that. What I'm trying to really harp on here is that cavities, yes, are infectious. And the reason is that they spread via bacterial infection. So it is a bacteria that is causing the problem. It is not sugar, it is not acid, it is not all these things. All those things can contribute to the final act of getting a cavity, but cavity is basically solely meant by this one bacteria called strep mutans, S mutans. And when you're born, you can't get cavities. That's kind of crazy to think. It's only when your mother gives you this bacteria, and sometimes you don't even get it. Sometimes you get lucky, your mom doesn't have a lot of strep mutans in her mouth, and you're the type that never has to brush her teeth and you never get cavities. But the fact remains is that yes, it works this way, not the other way. So you basically brush and floss to get that bacteria removed every single day as it regrows over and over again for the rest of your life. Now that's actually why we developed our Zero Pro with the BioFuse technology. It's the first ever biotech toothpaste that uses these things called nanolipid emulsions to directly target and attack that bacteria and get rid of just solely strep mutans as well as Peigenevalis. We target two different bacteria. And that's really important because before that, there was really nothing that targeted the bacteria. There was xylitol, and xylitol actually works pretty good. We actually have xylitol in here, but that's an indirect way of targeting that bacteria. It's not direct. So basically what that does is it tries to compete for sugar to starve out the bacteria because the bacteria eat sugar. The problem is if you're doing xylitol, that's great, but if you're still eating candies and sweets, you're still powering that bacteria either way. So it's gonna help, but it's not gonna be direct. Ours is actually directly attacking. I actually got rid of 99.9% of strep mutans in my mouth in 8 days. And in our double-blind human study we did, they reduced it 50% in 14 days, and it just keeps reducing it as you use it. Now you're gonna see more products that come out all over, not just oral care, that use these nanolipid emulsions and these new techniques of getting rid of bacteria without having an antibacterial medication that you're taking. But it's really, really important for people to know, because this is the first thing that could really directly reduce that bacteria, stopping you from getting cavities, which is really awesome. And so, yes, the first step though is to let people know that they are infectious and they spread. And it's not due to genetics, it's actually just because of the bacteria in your mouth. And then Odyssey says, xylitol gum, hydroxyapatite toothpaste, and coconut oil oregano are my holy grail. And so, I mean, the xylitol is great. Like I said, we use xylitol in our toothpaste, but it's indirect and it takes a lot of time. And if you're still eating sugar, it's not an end-all be-all. Hydroxyapatite, or nano hydroxyapatite particularly, really just basically repairs the damage caused by these bacteria. It doesn't actually deal with the bacteria directly. And oil oregano, that's not going to really do anything to these bacteria. And so really the only thing in the world are these nanolipid emulsions right now. And we're the only product in the world that does this in the oral care sector. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty awesome. And then Nicole Pierce says, fact, they can go from person to person as well. Exactly, that's how you get it. Your mother kisses you, drinks after you, you kiss somebody, you lick a block in play school, and then somebody else grabs it and licks the block. You know, it transmits that way. Know that it's contagious. Know that you can swap these bacteria back and forth, which can cause the problem, strep mutans, and then now know that there's finally a way to do with it with these new nanolipid emulsions and biotech. I'm sure we're not going to be the only people that have ever come out with this in the future, but right now we are the only one to put it out in the market, and you can actually get it right now. It's pretty crazy. And if you don't get our toothpaste, that's totally fine. As long as you're brushing, flossing, and really taking care of your teeth every single day, you can at least keep those bacteria at bay. But if you want to reduce them directly, that's really the only way to do it, is with our biotech nanolipid emulsions. This small white dot is ruining my life. It hurts so bad. Canker sore or what? Okay, no, that is not a canker sore. That small white dot is an inflamed taste bud, more than likely. And yes, they are very painful. Your tongue actually has a lot of nerves in it, weirdly enough, you know, and so when you get this inflamed taste bud that sits there, well, guess what? It's really painful. And there's not really much you can do. I mean, it can be physical, like you bit on it and cause it to inflame. Sometimes it can be dietary. There's really nothing I know of. You know, if it stays inflamed, sometimes you can get it removed, but it's like, it is kind of a weird thing. And it is just one of those things you just gotta wait out and it normally goes away. But it is not a canker sore. Canker sores are the kind of white things you see on these loose tissue here that kind of look like craters. They're called aphthous ulcers, and those are also very painful, and you also have to wait about 10 days for those to go away. King Carter says, I have the same thing right now and I can't do. Well, yes, that's true. You really can't do anything other than just deal with it. It's one of those things. Just deal with it. There we go. Alex came in. It'll go away in a few days. It's just a swollen taste bud. And yes, it is. Ooh, we got some advice here. It's just a swollen taste bud. It happens when your immune system didn't like the food you ate. And it also happens when you're low on vitamins. I hope this helped. And actually, I do believe I've seen studies where it does have to do with some foods that you've eaten. I don't know about the immune system part. And I actually do think there is something with low on vitamins too.
A few moments later.
So actually, it does say a lack of iron, zinc, or B complex vitamins like B12 and folate can also happen due to dry mouth and to stress and acid reflux GERD. So, okay, so whenever I start seeing like a ton of different reasons like that, well, more than likely it just means we don't really know. We don't really know why it happens. Everything causes it. So you just gotta wait it out, and then hopefully it will go away and stop causing you problems. All right, how I attach my headgear without my expander in. Okay, so he was doing a double whammy there. Yeah, so this is cool. Let's watch him do it. So obviously we have some little hooks there on the front of the braces to pull us. Now this is what we call a reverse pull face mask, okay? And so that basically means we're pulling from the front this direction, okay? And so the cool part about that is that basically what this does is it increases his upper jaw forward. So, you know, normally when we're doing this, if you don't have jaw issues, we can just use regular rubber bands. So if you have an underbite and we're just going from here to here, we go down from here to here, and it pulls everything the other direction. Now, if we're trying to physically grow the upper jaw without affecting much else, well, then we need anchorage points and we need to pull from that guy right there. Now, this is a way that you can kind of basically do a surgery without doing a surgery. Now, normally what I would say is you would want to do this on a kid, you know, 9, 10, 11 even. Now, he looks like he's almost 18, 16, 17, 18, which means that he's going to get less growth than he would have if he would have been going through puberty. So a little unfortunate that he didn't didn't get to it too early, but for the most part, works pretty good. The really issue that I see with this and what I've always seen is just patient compliance. So you're gonna give this to a patient, and if they're not fully bought in, like obviously this guy's probably into the looks maxing trends and everything, so he really is important. He wants to do this, but most people don't care, don't want to wear their headgear, and so that's why we've switched more to just wearing regular rubber bands on the braces versus doing headgear now. And then if you really have a discrepancy in your jaw, you get a jaw surgery or something like that. But this can definitely work if you use it and you're really, really serious about doing it all the time. Carla Spam says, OMG, I had one of these in the 2nd grade. Now see, 2nd grade, that would have been a way better time to be doing this because you actually would have physically been moving the jaws. Really good. Allison said, that's weirdly attractive. I'm not gonna lie, back in my day, headgear was not attractive. But you know what? The pendulum swings and it always goes back and forth. So I guess maybe they're cool now. Looks fire, not gonna lie. Okay, maybe it is. Maybe headgear are cool. Maybe I should start reintroducing headgear into the practice just because, you know, people love it nowadays. And you know, I'm all in for helping some skeletal growth move along there. But I don't know, you let me know, is headgear cool now or is it not cool? Let me know. You think you can hurt me? I had all my teeth pulled at 24 years. Oh my gosh, what do we got here? Yeah, she got them pulled all right. Oh man, she got all on, like that's all on like six, she got like 6 or 7 implants up top. Girl got a Rolls Royce in her mouth. She says, but so worth it. I love my spikes. Okay, I mean, a lot of thoughts here, Now, obviously, one thing we're not gonna do is I'm not gonna come in and I'm not gonna theorize about why she doesn't have her teeth. Really, there's only 3 different reasons normally that happen that I see people lose their teeth. Normally, it's due to some genetic condition. You know, you get like, you know, your enamel doesn't form right, or your dentogenesis imperfecta or something like that. And then eventually it's just easier to just pull them, get rid of them, you know? Another thing is you could be missing teeth. Another genetic thing, you could have hypodontia, severe hypodontia, I don't know. Another thing obviously is just dental neglect, AKA you didn't take care of your teeth, you didn't brush them. A lot of times this is due to your family actually, because if no one teaches you to brush your teeth, your parents don't care if you ever brush your teeth, they give you sodas at night, they don't care, they don't teach you, they don't educate you, they don't take you to the dentist, you're not gonna have a good time with your teeth health. And then they ended up getting rotted over time, and then you gotta pull them and take them out, and it's too late. And then the third one is obviously different drug use, things like that. Like I said, not saying that she does that. It could be a mix of all 3, could be none of them, could be one of them, I don't know. She could have done it just for fun. But regardless, this happens sometimes, you know, and it's unfortunate to see in a 24-year-old because they're so young. And it's like, man, I wish, actually, that's one of the reasons why I do all the education I do, is so hopefully if your parents don't educate you on taking care of your teeth, maybe you can at least learn something from me. And then you're like, hey, I know you didn't teach me to brush my teeth, but the Bentist says to brush your teeth and floss and take care of it, and how cavities are formed and strep mutans and bacteria and all these cool things. And maybe I can at least save one tooth out there. And I feel like after 7 years, 8 years, and billions of you educating you guys, hopefully I have saved some teeth out there. I really hope so. But needless to say, if you are gonna lose all your teeth, she did it the exact perfect way I would do it. Now it's very expensive to do, but it is the way to do it. And she got implants all over her upper teeth there, and then that's gonna snap in a really nice denture. It's gonna look really good, and it's gonna be solid, and it's gonna protect her bone loss. Because if you don't know, if you get all these teeth removed and you just get into regular dentures, well, your bone like dissolves away over time, and then the dentures don't fit anymore, and you gotta get them remade every year, and the bone just keeps going away and away and away, and then you end up like that old lady that the nose touches the chin, and it's just like, it's bad, you know? So she did the right way to do it. It's just, I wish we could have saved them before they got all removed, but it is what it is. And then Ezra says, so we just not brushing our teeth now? Well, like I said, we don't want to jump to conclusions, but I think we can all agree that we should brush our teeth and floss, because that is one of the reasons why this could happen. So if we brush, we floss, we take care of ourselves, maybe even use some new biotech stuff like our Zero Pro with the nanolipid emulsions, well, we can go ahead and prevent this from happening to us or our kids or our friends. Oh my gosh, the toothless dragon. That's me. That's me. You can't do that, but funny, but me. And then actually she showed a picture of herself there with them in. Someone was being mean and said, went from 24 to 94, and she said, I got them back, don't worry. And so you can see just how good they look when they're in. I mean, when you do it the implant way, it actually works really, really good. And they are right though. Like when you lose teeth and you go from no teeth to having teeth, you really do age a lot with that look. So it's pretty crazy to see somebody without teeth and then they go back into their teeth, they look completely different. Either way, I think we all learn, brush your teeth, take care of them, and hopefully you won't be 24 and get all your teeth removed. Hopefully this is a cautionary tale, regardless of why she lost them. All right, what do we got here? Doing some oh, I know exactly where this is going. Oh! Oh my gosh, that tooth is just cracked right diddly in half. That's why I tell you guys, I try and tell you, teeth are not tools. I see everybody biting on everything from pencils to, you know, top end to ripping bags open. Your teeth are meant to chew food, okay? They're not meant for tools to break open things or pop bottle caps or beer bottles or whatever it is. Now this one, normally when we see stuff like this, it's because like you're eating like steak or a burger and it's got that gristle in it, that bone, and you just go, and you bite down really hard, accidentally not knowing what it is, because you have protective reasons where your body doesn't want you to bite down hard. And so if you don't know what's in there, you bite down, goes in there, splits it open, you're gonna have that crack. Now, unfortunately, the treatment for this is just basically getting rid of that tooth completely. There's no saving this tooth once it's cracked down the middle. You can't do anything about it. You literally just gotta pull that tooth and get an implant. And I tell you, that was probably so painful. Ooh, and a lot of times you don't even know. Actually, it says this patient arrived reporting pain in the dental element that apparently had nothing. I don't know what that means, but yeah, a lot of people don't even know that they broke the tooth. They're just like, this hurts, I'm getting some weird pain here, and then we look at it and sure enough, that tooth is just cracked in half and the nerve is just hanging out, which is absolutely insane. Oh my gosh, the flip-flops like curled in. It's like, yeah, that's probably what I feel every time that thing opens. Oh my gosh, nobody told me I needed a crown after the root canal. Okay, I see what you're saying. So yeah, a lot of times we do see teeth crack like this too. It's like they'll get a root canal or something down the middle, and then they don't get a final crown over it. And that basically is like when we whittle out the middle of the tooth, there's nothing there left. And so like there's no support anymore. So the tooth can just crack down the middle sometimes. And that's probably what they're talking about. No root canal or crown is gonna save this tooth anymore. It is exactly what Ariana has there, the extraction forceps, which is, we're just gonna pull that bad boy. We're gonna take that guy and rip it out. So, maybe just don't bite down on things. Maybe just use them to chew and eat food like a normal person. Help! Why does my retainer look like this, the Bentist? Hey, that's me. Okay, well, let's look. Okay, it looks like an Essex retainer. Okay, yeah, I see. It's like, it's not fully, it's a little wavy, it's a little movie, it's not covering every single tooth perfectly. And the answer is, it doesn't matter. It's totally okay. That retainer is totally normal. What you saw is the difference between, there are retainers that are pre-made. Like you can go get them from Invisalign, right? They're called Vivera retainers. And those have scalloped margins, or they're actually like digitally printed to match your teeth perfectly and exactly. Okay, what you have is an Essex retainer that was basically taken. They took your model, they put the plastic, they sucked it down on top of that model, and then they just cut it out with some scissors, and then they just polished the edges around. It doesn't mean that it doesn't work or anything like that. It's just, it was handmade with some love and some care. And as long as it's covering a majority of the tooth, like 80-90% of the tooth, you're probably just fine. In fact, we really don't want it going over onto the gum tissue because basically what that can do is cause some gum resorption. It can cause some gum loss, especially if you're picking in the same area over and over again. So I don't really see any issues with the retainer that you got there. It looks like just a normal Essex retainer that was handmade by somebody in your dental office, which is totally normal, and a majority of dental offices actually do their retainer this way. Someone said they gave you whitening trays as retainers. No, they did not. Whitening trays are totally different. They're floppy and floopy, and they're made of a different material. These are just Essex material, so don't worry about that. Leah said, I would ask for a Holly retainer. That's the old school retainer with the acrylic and the wire. While those do work pretty well, I do have some problems with that. The metal crosses over the line. Actually, that's how I ground down my tooth, is I ground on that wire on my Holly, and they don't really fully 360 hold that tooth together. They only hold it from the front and back, so that tooth can go up and down. With an Essex retainer, you can also get the up and down solved as well there too. And there we go. We finally got some good stuff there. Essex retainers can come with a straight trim or a scallop trim. Either is fine, really. People just prefer the look of scallop. I actually don't even prefer the look of scallop. I mean, the scalloped I don't really like because it's kind of sharp, and then those edges can bend and break and crack a little bit easier than the straight. So I don't really have an issue at all. And then this Gazal chick says, get them redone. Your teeth will relapse. Look up Essex retainer online. This is an Essex retainer, and no, your teeth are not going to relapse. Your retainer is fine. Just make sure you wear it. As long as you do that, you will have straight teeth and you'll be just fine. Now, if you have any cracks or you chew through it or grind through it, just let your orthodontist know so they can make you a new one, okay? You're gonna be just fine. Congrats on getting your braces off. Your teeth look awesome. And thanks for shouting. All right. Ooh, we got a little coil in here, and that little loop means that we're gonna be doing a Tataroonie there. Yep. Which is kind of crazy. It's a temporary anchorage device, which is like a mini implant that screws into your mouth. Fun fact, we had to screw these into our own mouths in dental school, and it just feels like a lot of pressure, not pain. So you can see there's putting a rubber band around there, pretty gnarly, and that's about it, pretty normal. Now what you're seeing there, basically this whole segment of getting everything in there and everything, and basically you see he's forming that little dot up top to make a triangle there. And what these are used for is people with open bites. When you have a big open bite, and it's to pull those back molars up and out of the way to make your bite deeper over time. So if you have a really open bite, you pull these guys out of the way, and then you can bite deeper on that side, and that will allow you to, deepen that open bite. And a ton of people tag me in this saying, Bentist, I am not getting braces if this has to happen to me. And most of you guys are not gonna use TADs at all, but if you do, it's not that big of a deal. Exactly. Hi, Sammy says, I'm getting braces. They don't do this. Then we have comments that say, excuse me, and that looks painful. And actually it's really not that painful. It should be numb. In fact, if it's painful, they put it in the wrong spot. If it's painful, that means they went too close to the root and you're starting to get some nerve pain there. It really should be between the roots and should have no pain at all, just pressure. In fact, we don't even numb up normally. We can use a little sensitizing gel, but we don't use a shot or numb up at all because we want you to be able to feel the pain so that we know if we put it in the wrong spot or not. Either way, still pretty crazy. All right, let's see here. Oh man, that is what we call maximum grinding there. And then look at that. Okay, let's start over here. Let's start from the front. Okay, if you look at these teeth, you can see that these are heavily worn down. Now this is happening from grinding, more than likely front to back grinding like this. No, not that front to back grind. And so unfortunately, your teeth are not impenetrable and they will wear down over time. And I actually have this slightly. I actually am a side sleeper, so instead of front to back, when I go front to back, it kind of goes at an angle, and so I wear down at an angle here, but still it's the same thing. Now this could be due to breathing issues, could be due to stress and neurological disorders, it could be just be sleeping in a bad, weird position and your body can't get enough air. And so what happens is your bite tries to move forward to allow you to breathe, and then your bite falls back again. And then you move forward to breathe, and it falls back again. And so you get into this issue of that happening. And so this person got a composite transformation, which if you're looking at here, it looks pretty good. We covered it up, we filled up the little gaps and everything like that. The only issue with composite veneers sometimes is that they get a little bit bulky. You can see her top teeth are a little more bulky than her lower teeth there. And also they look a little less optically good than regular porcelain. But other than that, it's actually really good, and the composite is pretty strong, and in fact it's going to be much harder to wear away the composite than her teeth were. This is from Dr. May Bassett, and it looks like she did a pretty good job. Darcy says, how does that happen? And kind of like I said, it's mainly probably airway. It could also be tongue suction patterns. If you don't keep your tongue properly suctioned up into the mouth, shout out to my looks maxers, the mewers out there, that's actually kind of what they're practicing. And if you have that tongue, not really holding your jaw forward, well then your jaw falls back and you're doing this thing all night long, which is causing that. It also could just be due to stress and neurological disorders. Traveling Nomad says, veneers look good, but lay off acidic drinks as well, as do weeks of cleansing to reduce your grinding. And actually they're not wrong. If you're having a lot of acidic drinks and things, we do see similar stuff like that in GERD related issues where, we get a lot of acid on the back of the teeth. It wears down the enamel, and then when you grind, it just wears it away even more. And so she could have a mix of GERD with the grinding together. That very well could be a possibility. Another thing you can do is just wear a night guard at night. So you're sliding around properly and you're not damaging the teeth any more than they've already been damaged. All right, you guys, a bunch of you guys tagged me in this one. When you carry a baby for 9 months, it's going to smell like this. Wait, what? What? Okay, first off, why did you guys tag me in this? This is not even related to dentistry at all. I'm not gonna lie, I think I know why you guys tagged me in this. Hamilton literally said, is that the Bentist? Wow. Wow, you guys are really gonna do this to me, huh? Listen, I understand that I've got some crazy eyebrows and I'm very expressive in how I use them. And fun fact, a lot of people for some reason, they'll comment, they'll say that I got Botox something in here and that's why it does it. I have never gotten Botox one day in my life. I don't know what it is, I just have a very expressive face. I talk with my eyebrows. It's not my fault. Lorraine says, about to steal Christmas. Why you guys gotta pull the Grinch jokes on me? I don't look that much like the Grinch, do I? Either way, that's a cute baby video. 2, I'm kind of upset. And 3, well, it's not that big of a deal either, I guess. The Rock's got crazy eyebrows, but you don't see you guys making fun of him. But if you guys keep it up, maybe I will steal Christmas, okay? Oh my gosh, let's see
and
here.
She gave no f***s. Not even one.
Oh man, she got the full thing going on. Okay. So obviously you guys have seen expanders, right? The stuff that you put people in their mouth and we've seen people turn it. But this is an interesting one because if you look in there, there are actually these little holes in the top. Now these are called marpies. So basically what those are your regular expander, but they're actually screwed into the roof of your mouth. And these are really common in adults. And that's because, as you guys probably already know from watching my stuff, your palate or your roof of your mouth is made into 2 different bones that will fuse together expire right around 18, 19, 20, sometimes even early. And so a normal expander won't work anymore because that suture is fused, and then the teeth will just kind of flare out instead. So what we have to do is use something like a Marpy here, where you actually screw a tad into the roof of your mouth, and now you've got anchorage into the bone. So when you push it apart, it's gonna cause that suture to potentially break and then pop open like that, causing a giant gap right down the middle of your teeth. Now this will be great for not only widening the palate, but it will help with airflow, which is gonna cause, nasal breathing issues and stuff to go down, and nighttime breathing, grinding, stuff like that to go down as well. And overall, just aesthetically having that nice wide smile is really awesome too. In fact, I have a little narrower of a palate just because we didn't have this technology whenever I was growing up, and I didn't get an expander when I was growing up. And so I've actually thought about doing this myself. I don't know, what do you guys think? Should I do a Marpy on myself and get a big old gap in the middle? I don't know. And a lot of people ask if this is painful. No, it's just gonna really feel like a bunch of pressure until all of a sudden one day you'll feel a pop, and then it'll break open. Now, a lot of times too, this isn't even enough as well, and you gotta go into a thing called a Sarpy, which is where they surgically break that suture open, and then the Marpy happens. Kook says it doesn't hurt at first, but a few hours later it starts hurting real bad. And more than likely, it's not actually pain related to that. It's probably the pressure on the teeth that you're feeling, and so those teeth start to get, well, basically sore. Luckily, it does go away after a while, and it is really just mainly pressure that you're gonna feel. Zephyr says, I just got war flashbacks. And I know a lot of you guys has PTSD from expanders, but hey, at least you got the expansion you were looking for. But I don't know, would you get one of these, or would you just totally just leave it as it is? All right, we got another 24-month braces journey. I always like to kind of stop here and see what we got. Okay, so actually looks like a pretty normal thing that we see all the time. She has 2 blocked out teeth on the lower and a pretty close bite there, which kind of tells me that she's probably more like this, a little class 3-ish. It's just that the teeth got kind of crowded up and stuff like that. So normally we would add some springs here and open it up. Let's see what they did. Oh, she has the cheeks, so that means she got her teeth removed. Unfortunately, not a big fan of having the teeth removed like that. But basically what they did was remove the upper and lower premolars to bring everything back there. Now what you'll notice is there's big gaps on the top and bottom, which all of that stuff is gonna fall into. Now even with the blocked out teeth, she's only gonna fill about half of those gaps. And remember, upstairs, there's no gaps at all because her teeth were normal. So that means her front teeth just have to literally go like this to close up those gaps. Not my favorite, because we'll probably see later that it's gonna affect her profile, but let's kind of keep on looking. You can see how much spacing there is when she turns to the side, and we have to pull all of that back. Okay, so that's a great one right there to look. So you can see that her lower is already straight, and you can still see giant gaps on the top and bottom. Now, we're not gonna bring everything forward to match that. They're gonna bring everything back to match that. That means her profile and her lips and everything is gonna go back. So you can see when she's at her side, she's got some flaring, all that type of stuff, but that's actually supporting her lips and stuff like that too. There's definitely ways you could have just deflared that using some IPR at the start. Okay, so now the gaps are closing up, or getting closer and closer. So you can already see on this side profile that her nose, lips, and chin, so this is what we call the E-line, and we want them all to be on that E-line together. And you can already see how far back her upper lip is. That's because she had that tendency for that underbite. And instead of fixing it with some rubber bands, she should have had some class 3 rubber bands and some IPR to do that. They took out all the teeth and then rammed it back. And unfortunately what that's gonna do, even though I'm sure it's gonna turn out good and everything's gonna look straight, is her profile is just not gonna look as good as it should, because her profile is just gonna get worse over time instead of better. Now we've got all that space closed up there, and we're looking, she still has space on the top she's gotta fix up. And they're pulling it back, and now you can really see that nose is really far forward of that upper lip. And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we've got. It's gonna continue closing, and I'm sure it's gonna turn out great. We can actually go to the ending here and kind of see what she looks like at the end. And there you go. So, I mean, obviously it looks really good still. The teeth are looking good. Her smile is looking good. The only thing that I really see that I just dislike about it is that, 1, they removed 4 healthy teeth when they didn't have to. And 2, they probably just made her profile worse than it could have been. We could have pushed everything forward. We could have had proper rubber band to help that upper maxilla grow forward at her age, and then we could have really gotten her a really nice E-line there instead of the kind of nose and chin being farther out and everything like that. Now, we can't do anything about it now, and she probably doesn't even notice that this happened, but I see this all the time, and I just wish more people would go to some orthodontists that understand non-extraction orthodontists to try and get the best facial profile and teeth that we can get. Just delete them. and they still did absolutely nothing. That's right, it actually blows my mind that this purple whitening strip trend is like still going on after years of just scamming people. Because no matter if you leave this on for 3 hours, 3 days, or 3 minutes, it's not gonna do anything. And it doesn't matter what brand does it or who sells it to you. It's literally just a brain trick to make you think in that moment it's slightly whiter than it really is. Trust me, it's not. I mean, you could believe the thousands of comments of people saying they got scammed and it didn't work and it didn't do anything, but that doesn't stop people from selling it to you using teeth whitening filters and faking stuff, which a lot of companies are actually getting sued because of this. But hey, at least those green teeth whitening strips didn't last too long. They were meant for like skin lightening and they tried to put those on your teeth. It's like people will do anything other than just use the actual thing that whitens your teeth, which is hydrogen peroxide. And you can get whitening strips from literally like Dollar General that have hydrogen peroxide that work. So I don't know why you're wasting all your money on these. That's what I said. Didn't we learn any lessons from Ross Geller? And yeah, as much as I like Friends, he was definitely using hydrogen peroxide whitening. So he wasn't using fake scam purple whitening. Then he said, as a dental hygienist, don't do this. And yeah, if you're using regular actual whitening that works, yeah, you're gonna get super sensitive. Your teeth are gonna hurt. It's gonna be a big deal there. With this stuff, I don't even know, like, it's probably toxic. It's just like straight up Violet 3 FDA bad regulated color like dye. So yeah, probably not good to keep in your mouth for a long time. Either way, I just hope for a day when you guys finally stop getting scammed. You know, that's why we made something nice, was so you guys didn't get scammed. And you know what? People are finally getting products that actually work. And as you notice, I don't sell purple teeth whitening strips, and I never will, because they don't work. But hopefully we've at least saved a few of you guys. I think my orthodontist forgot a step. Wait, what is she talking about? I think my orthodontist forgot a step. Let's see. Oh, that's funny. The power chains. Oh, okay, I get it now. She said, this is not how our power chain works. Yes, actually it is. And we probably did that on purpose. Now, obviously, for sure, she could have like popped them off of here and just had them floating around. But actually, there are times where you put the power chain below and on top of the brackets on purpose. You see, because your tooth is a lever, right? It's a system that is gonna be switching back and forth like this. If you have the bracket on here and we wanna move it this way, the power chain is on the bracket. But if you have a lot of flaring, well, we will put it on top to unflare and deflare that tooth. So hers being on top is probably because she had a little bit of flaring on the lower and they wanted to tip the teeth back this direction. And conversely, you can actually put it on the lower and you can cause it to go the opposite direction. Maybe if you're up top and you have a lot of deflaring, you put it up here to try and flare out the teeth a little bit. So yeah, we can actually change the force vector of where that power chain is to actually flare the teeth in different reasons. So actually, no, they did not forget a step, more than likely. Toyistada says, it's because you have Damon braces. And no, I use Damon braces. You can do this with any type of braces. Obviously, Damon braces and self-ligating braces in general are best for this because they have the least amount of resistance. But yeah, you can do this technique on any braces. And look, actually somebody else says, yeah, okay, I got these. And he's got it down below on the bottom, which is the same concept. It's just gonna flare and pull it down that way. So yeah, next time you go to your orthodontist and you get some power chains like this, just know that they're probably know what they're doing and they're probably not gonna cause any problems. And it's for a reason. And Isley says, no, they did that to mine too. It actually does something. I just don't know what. Well, now you do. We got a man shaving. I don't know why that's, oh, goodness gracious. Oh, please tell me that doesn't have an actual razor on it. Genuinely, why? Why are you doing this? Now this probably doesn't have a razor, but what if I told you brushing your teeth in certain ways could actually do as much damage as this to your gums without you even knowing about it? That's right. In fact, one of the #1 causes of gum damage and gum recession that we see on a daily basis is actually from brushing your teeth. But what the heck, Bentist? I thought you said I'm supposed to brush my teeth to get my gums good. Well, you are, but you're actually supposed to use a soft bristle brush and you're supposed to lightly massage your gums. And unfortunately, we have a lot of those type A overachievers out there. You know the type, and you know the one I'm talking about, the ones trying to get straight A's, ripping pages out of books so you can't study it so they can get a better grade than you. Yeah, that person, that's the one I'm talking about. They brush their teeth really hard because they're trying to get the straight A's from their dentist somehow. And they actually brush way too hard. And if you're super hard and aggressive on your gum tissue, well, that gum will recede. And this is actually what it looks like to have recession from brushing your teeth. And it's really something we see a lot because, you know, it's like, it's really on normally on your right side, your dominant hand side, and it definitely goes up. And you can even get, you know, like like these little fractures in the side of your teeth from just wearing away the tooth, the root, and the gum by brushing really hard. Another thing we see in these people is if you look at their toothbrush, you pop that thing up, it will actually be super sprayed out and flayed out, over to the side. And that really proves that they're brushing really hard. Your toothbrush should not look like that. And if it does, that means you're brushing way too hard. So just think light massaging circles on the gums, okay? We are not going in there trying to fight in Vietnam or anything, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is not a war on your gums, okay? This is a nice Swedish massage. Zach and Loka Mamar, I agree. That's actually, I think if you looked at my face, that's probably what my face probably looked like there when I was watching that. So yeah, I don't think there's anything further to really talk about here other than don't do this. Please, as a professional, don't do this. All right, what do we got here? Okay, we got an x-ray and oh my goodness gracious, that is a large wisdom tooth. Okay, so the first thing I do as an orthodontist is I count the molars here and I see 1, 2, 3 in capital letters repeating because that is a big old monster wisdom tooth. So what you're actually looking at here is more than likely tooth gemination, okay? Now this is where your tooth bud actually splits and then kind of forms this one massive tooth here, and you can actually tell it's got 1, 2, 3 different roots there, and so it's probably this splitting and combination of a tooth there together. You can have this other way, it's called concrescence, and that, I believe that's the term. It's been a long time since I've been in dental school, but that's where you have 2 legit teeth and they just happen to like kind of seal together. This is like 1 tooth split in 2 combined. It's like a Frankenstein tooth. You can also have fusion where 2 join together, but then they wouldn't have a second molar here. It'd be like the second and third molar became 1. In this case, I got 1, 2 wisdom teeth, and then those 2 wisdom teeth came together to form this monstrosity. Oh my gosh, Anonymous says, full of wisdom. Yes. You're full of something, all right. And Sophie says, is this 2 molars or 1 massive one? Well, it's 2 massive 1 molars. 2 molar massive 1. 2 ones massive molaring 1. Presence of Kevin says, that's not a wisdom tooth, that's the tooth of truth. All the wisdom is in that tooth. And Olivia says, I can see all the earrings that were left in. My doctor would never let us live it in. Fun fact, actually, if you look back at the x-ray, you can see this kind of wavy ghost image here of this white stuff here in the front. That's actually a ghost image of the earring that you can see in the far left. And that's actually the reason why we have you take out earrings during x-rays, is so we don't get extra crap over that we can't really tell what's going on, because you see it's a lot harder to see what's going on with the wisdom tooth up top because of those earrings. So if you're a dental professional, take out those earrings so we can actually see your x-ray. Either way, pretty cool. All right, poked my tooth abscess with a needle in hopes it relieves some pressure because the swelling is kind of blocking the airway of my nose and now it's purple. Oh my gosh, okay, so I gotta pause it here. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, so the reason why it's purple is because he probably, damaged himself and started bleeding a little bit there. That's not good. He needs to go to an ER or a dental professional ASAP, because I will tell you one thing. If you're having abscesses, which is basically, so let me get out the tooth models here. Which one's best here? Okay, so you can see how these roots are all infected here. Well, if it gets infected, it goes down. I don't know if you can see down inside there, but there's these 2 little balls here. That's the infection starting to form what's called an abscess. And as that abscess spreads, it has nowhere to go. So it starts to make its way and that infection goes out elsewhere. Now, normally it can blow up the side of a cheek and blow up other things, but if it's up here in the nose area, that is dangerous. This is called the cavernous sinus area, okay? And basically, I mean, you can, like some people call it the triangle of death. Yes, I know, that's crazy. It's a crazy term. But that's because if this infection gets up here and it goes into the cavernous sinus and goes into the brain, you get an infection in your brain and if he's already got so much swelling, it's literally blocking his airway and he's got to pop it to try and breathe. You need to go somewhere quick and get some antibiotics. And then what he's gonna need to do is he's gonna need to get a root canal in that tooth to get the infection stopped and get it out of there, and then some, antibiotics to actually get it. So he says, guys, am I cooked? Yes. And you'll be, if you don't get this fixed. So it's a really serious thing. And look at that. Someone says the triangle of death is called that for a reason. Go to the doctor. Yes, please go to something. And then Love Leon says dental care needs to be affordable and available for people. Yes. I totally agree, actually. I think it needs to get more affordable. And we need to find a way to just solve oral disease completely. That's kind of my goal with something nice. It's kind of what we're doing. We're creating these new biotech ways of fighting, bacteria. It's really awesome. But there's gonna be so many more technologies that come around our new technologies. And hopefully we really solve oral disease in 3 to 5 years. And then you never have to ever get a cavity ever again, because it's just caused by one simple bacteria, Strep mutans. That's it. Ooh, and Thoughtful Wolf says something good here. It says, if you have no dental insurance, you can call a local dental school. They always need patients, and it's often very low cost. Completely true. If you're in an area near a dental school, yes, go in and they can take care of you, especially if it's an emergency, and you can get it done at a pretty low cost, if not sometimes free if you have to. But this guy needs to get this checked ASAP. Does not need to be posting this stuff on TikTok. He needs to be going to an ER and getting some antibiotic stat and then going to see his dentist to get a root canal done.
What's up,
Ooh,
Dick?
little Yachty.
Or
What's
top?
up, Mr. Yachty?
I just want to give an update on my
Ooh,
teeth.
an update on his teeth?
They got done, about 4 procedures, and I want to show them off because they were pretty pretty.
Let's see him.
All right.
Oh, snap. My God.
Got these diamonds implanted, and then some gold.
Dude, look at that go.
Just showing y'all my teeth.
Okay, Mr. Yachty, let's go ahead and give him a little comment here of what he got going on, because I got a bunch of people tagging me and like, did he ruin his teeth? Yada, 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 whatever. Okay, now, so there's a couple things. If he had perfectly fine teeth, and they shaved them down to put crowns on, yes, technically he did damage his teeth, okay? Not my favorite thing to do. But if he already had dental restoration somewhere back there and he was getting crowns replaced, I think gold is actually a really smart decision because it's a better restoration than a zirconia crown or things like that. It's just, we didn't use it for a long time. One, because of cost, because gold can get expensive. And then two, because, well, looks, a lot of people wanted the white teeth to have a smile. Now I feel like gold is starting to come back. People are starting to use gold crowns again because they, it's like a sign like, I got gold in my mouth. It's also weirdly enough an investment vehicle for you as the price of gold goes up. And so people asked also about the diamonds and stuff too. Now, that being said, that could cause some more damage to the tooth because you're gonna have to probably make that crown prep deeper, so you're gonna have to shave more of the tooth away to fit that diamond in there. So the crown prep is probably a little more aggressive, but really this is basically just a crown with an inlaid diamond in it. It's just a really expensive crown, you know what I'm saying? So what do I think of little Yachty's things? I think they look really good. I actually like them a little more than just a basic gold crown, Unfortunately, I do wish he probably wouldn't have ruined some of his teeth. He did say that he didn't like the removables anymore because they always fell out and he lost them and things like that. I get it. So going to a permanent crown, as long as he got it done by a dental professional that made sure the margins were sealed, everything was good, I think it looks really good. It achieves what he was trying to do. Do I wish he would have not ruined healthy teeth? Yes, of course. But if he was going to do it anyways, he chose the right material in gold and I think they look pretty good. You know what I'm saying? He achieved what he was trying to achieve. Max says, what's up, Yachty or Boat? Yeah, what do we call him? Little Boat? What's up, Mr. Boat? And he says, all he came to do was flex. Yeah, he did. I mean, he did kind of flex on us though. Those diamonds were very large and they were in every single tooth. Not to mention the cost of gold. Getting a gold crown right now, you must be making money. Shay said, but your teeth were perfect. Yeah, he did have really good teeth, dang. I didn't even realize that. But at least I'm glad to see him happy and hopefully we find a way to regrow tooth structure in the future. I don't know. But until then, I guess he's gonna have to live with those for the rest of his life. Braces don't hurt. I'm going through. Let's see what you're going through. Oh my gosh, little tad. That's actually a really good way to look at the tads there and how they work. Yeah. Now, luckily for you guys, okay, let's go through this. Okay, so what you're gonna see, I'm gonna pause it here. You can see from the side that your bone, it really does kind of look like that. It's got like air pockets and everything else in there. Now, some, depending on what you are, you can have denser bone or softer bone. And so what we're doing is we're putting the tad in. So it's literally an implant sideways in between your teeth. Now, fun fact, this doesn't actually hurt. It just feels like pressure. And in fact, we don't even numb up the area usually. We actually want to know if it starts to hurt because if it does, that means we put it in the wrong spot and we're actually hitting the tooth instead of in between the tooth because it's supposed to go in between. See those spaces between the teeth roots? That's where it's actually supposed to go. It's supposed to go like between them. And if it goes onto the root, well then that's when we know, okay, you're gonna scream in pain and then we're knowing we did the wrong thing. And then if you keep going here, you can actually see how it's used. So it's a temporary anchorage device and you can put a spring or a rubber band or whatever to help pull and close spaces or move things around. You can even help move things up, move things down, do everything that you can't do with just traditional braces. You need some unit. You basically use your skull as a pulling point. It's pretty wild. Either way, don't worry about it because a majority of people do not get these with braces. Like 99% of people don't get these with braces. So don't worry about it like you're gonna be getting it because you're probably not. Crimson says no because pulling on my teeth with braces or something got that good pain. Oh, okay, you weird. You weird. Although I did the same thing when I had braces even there weren't. Sometimes you just press on it and just feel the pain. Sometimes you just wanna feel something. I like those two comments right back. Tina says, they will do this. And then Sigma was like, they don't do this. Yes, they're right. They don't do this. Unless they do this, you know, for your specific thing. Now, don't be worried. Like I said, if they do it, it's for a good reason. It's probably going to save you from having to get a jaw surgery. You're going to get a lot of good things done. So don't worry about it too much. It'll be just fine. Bro, oh my goodness gracious. The temporalis on that man. Bro, is he bald to show off his temporalis, or did his temporalis make him bald? Dude, that is like an alien, man. So if you guys don't know, you use different muscles to chew, to close your mouth, because this jaw is just hanging off your skull, and you use different muscles from your masseter all the way up, and sometimes you can be super temporalis heavy. In fact, if you have a lot of TMJ issues and stuff, when you're chewing using your temporalis, sometimes you can feel that blood fill up and get super tight up here when you have TMJ problems, and then it just feels like your jaw can't go anywhere because you're just muscled up. So this guy, his chewing function is almost all temporalis. That's actually crazy. I've never seen a temporalis that large before. I'm assuming this man has TMJ problems because holy moly. Type said, holy temporalis. Yeah, that's why I think I literally might have said that whenever that came out. The Discord picture? Oh man, dude, you guys are ruthless in these comment sections these days. Ever since they added pictures and stuff to this, you guys have been going crazy. Oh my God, just missing that antenna, bro. Bro really does kind of look like the Reddit alien. Okay, I'm done making fun of this guy because we shouldn't be making fun of this guy. Maybe there's a good thing of having a giant temporalis. I can't think of it yet, but you know, if he gets punched in the side of the head, he's probably protected from a traumatic brain injury. You know what he actually, I just realized he could go get some Botox from his dentist. We do this in overactive masseters and things for TMJ. He could literally just get Botox in both of his temporalis muscles. I don't know if that would cause any, like maybe that would make him stop being able to open his mouth, close his mouth. I don't know, but you could do some temporary Botox in there, like a little bit, just a little bit. And then that would probably help it go way down in muscularity. But I don't know if he wants that. Maybe this is his thing. Maybe this is his party trick. I don't know. All right, holy mama moly, look at that. That is a big time right there. Oh my gosh. So you guys tagged me a bunch in this, said a couple things. First off was like, what is this man's gum brain doing hanging out in his mouth? A lot of people asked, hey, is this what it looks like inside a tooth? And the answer to that answer is it's gum tissue, and no, that is not normal. In fact, what happens is you normally have a broken down tooth. Like you can see there, that tooth is kind of broken out and decayed and like a shell of its former self. We actually see this a lot in baby tooth because they kind of hollow out on the inside as well. And guess what? Gum tissue is like a living, growing being. It's like a weed, you know, where there's like inflammation, nastiness, the gums will actually grow into that area. That's why you see gum overgrowth in people who like get in braces and they don't brush their teeth and kind of gets nasty and the gum overgrows, stuff like that. So the gum will actually grow into areas that aren't cleaned very well. And so obviously there's a lot of decay and nastiness in this tooth. So basically that gum just grew up like a clam into its own new home. You know, like one of those like conches where they all like grow up into a new shell. It was like a sea conch. It was gums living in a tooth home. You know, they just grew up, got bigger. And so whenever they popped and broke off that tooth structure, which probably what happened, they broke off half the tooth. Now you've got these little gum pods of where it formed on the inside of the tooth. And that's the same thing we see in the baby teeth. You'll actually pull the baby tooth off sometimes and there'll just be like a lump of gum tissue there. And then the mom is like, what is that tumor in my kid's mouth? And you know, I have to reassure them, no, that's just gum tissue. It will go away. And it does. It actually kind of goes down. Now, sometimes if it's really nasty, you can just laser it and cut it off. But for the most part, it does tend to just kind of recede and go back on its own once you can clean it and get it out of there. Either way, really crazy looking. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was looking through these comments and they're all in a different language, so I don't have anything for you on the comment side today. All I can say is to avoid this, you know, brush, floss your teeth. You'll watch my videos, you know, little subtle plug there, hit that follow button. And you probably won't have this happen to you, but if you are a kid or you're a mother and your kid does have a baby tooth and you're seeing this pink tooth form, it actually forms like a pink tooth. It looks like a pink tooth. That's just the gum tissue underneath and maybe a little bit of blood coming in there. You're gonna be just fine. All right, you guys tag me. What are you guys tagging me in? How are his nostrils so big? Did he just say his mouth? Oh no, Oh my goodness. You know, when I give you guys the responsibility of tagging me in this week's videos, I don't mean you should abuse that power, because I feel like I've been abused. I got so many questions though. I mean, I know that thing was burning in there. My man is gonna be smelling mint for like the next month and a half after that. How is his nostrils so large? Are they stretched? Is this an AI filter? Is this AI? I bet you that's what this is. This has gotta be AI. There's no way that this is real. I know y'all said some crazy stuff in the comments. Someone says, does anyone else need this? With the men in black? Yeah, I need that. Please, you guys need to stop tagging me and stuff like this, okay? I'm over it. She said, bro, I was eating. I know. Trust me, I know. And you think this is bad? What about all the videos that you guys tag me that I don't put on here for you guys to see? Yeah, that's right. It gets worse. He said, bro, I mean, like seriously, how are his nostrils so big? Someone's gotta explain this to me in the comments. It's gotta be an AI filter or something. But then again, he got the toothbrush up there. So I don't know. Someone's got some explaining to do. All right, how do I pull the baby teeth?
Are growing in his big teeth. Let me see. Look, this tooth is already in. This tooth still won't come out.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what's going on there. When I tell you I have seen this issue multiple times, and when I say multiple, all the time, this is a really normal thing that happens, and this is exactly what's going on. You see, a lot of times when permanent teeth come in, guess what those baby tooth do? They get wiggly and they fall out. But every now and then you get a baby tooth that is rock solid, and no matter what you do, and yes, even if the permanent tooth comes out underneath it, that tooth does not move. And this is what we call ankylosis. Now, ankylosis just basically means that that baby tooth has fused to the bone a little bit and it's gotten stuck. And so basically it's not gonna fall out. And so even though these teeth literally look like they're about to physically fall out and you could just go and pluck them out like normal, they're pretty rock hard and rock solid. Now this actually happens a lot in a baby tooth called the E, which is back here. It's actually where your premolars come up, and those get ankylosed all the time. And we actually can tell it's ankylosed because the other teeth will go up higher and this one will stay sunken down. And we also have issues in braces with ankylosed teeth. So if you ever had a canine that got stuck up here and it got ankylosed or stuck to the bone, we try and pull it down. Well, all the other teeth come up and that tooth doesn't come down, and then we have to get it actually pulled because it's stuck. Now in this position for a baby, it's gonna be pretty easy to get it out of there because you basically just have to kind of pop it and pull it out. It may take a little numbing and a little bit of plier work to get it out of there, but most of the time, ones like these are pretty easy to get taken care of. And I would definitely recommend getting it taken out because it's gonna block some of these other teeth from coming out. And if it really is truly ankylosed to the bone, it's not going anywhere. Let's see if anybody caught it in the comments. Just a lot of people just hating on her for not going to the dentist. I'm sure she probably is gonna take him to the dentist eventually. She's like, do y'all take kids to the dentist today? Girl, go to the dentist. Stay out of my nephew's mouth. Take him to the dentist. If he was going every 6 months for a cleaning, they would have gave you a solution. Listen, I get it. And actually, I mean, she probably was just thinking what most people do, and actually what we tell people to do most of the time is just be like, it's fine, they're gonna fall out eventually, it's not a big deal. And the kid still looks pretty young. But in this case, if it's still hard and the permanent teeth are coming out and it's still not wiggly at all, yeah, you're probably gonna need to go get something done. And as always, I always recommend around 8, 9 years old, I would definitely go to an orthodontist as well, just to make sure everything is going well there, because sometimes we can catch stuff early and we can fix it before it's a problem later. And actually there down below, she said they did go to a dentist. He said that they will be pushed out by the new teeth, but I'm scared because these big ones coming in fast. So like I said, a lot of times when we see that, we're gonna make that initial claim, be like, they're gonna fall out. Now, eventually, if the other teeth are in and they're still hard in there, we understand, okay, well now they're ankylosed, now we gotta get rid of them. So more than likely next time she goes to the dentist, if they're not already out or they haven't fallen out, he's just gonna tell them, let's go ahead and get them out. Either way, still looks pretty funky. All right, I could never brush my teeth with bar of soap. That's weird. Well, that's because it is weird. And look at her go. She's just brushing her teeth. And actually in the thing down below, it says, I love my bar of soap. It gets so sudsy. People think I'm insane or crazy for doing this, but don't complain about pairing soap in their children's mouths. That's a little weird, I'm not gonna lie. And actually, fun fact, that's why a lot of people don't like natural toothpaste, or they have an initial issue with it, is because it doesn't suds enough. And that's actually because of this thing called sodium lauryl sulfate, which, guess what? It's basically just soap. And actually, weirdly enough, it's banned in Europe as well. And so that's why any good toothpaste brand, like our Zero Pro and our regular Zero, we actually don't have SLS, we don't have titanium dioxide, we don't have like all the weird dyes and stuff. So I mean, yeah, I mean, you wanna find a brand that you can definitely trust, but yes, I get it, you guys like the sudsiness, but it's actually not good for you, because it's basically this soap that's in all this stuff. So if it suds a ton, then you wanna look at the back of your toothpaste and you'll probably see sodium lauryl sulfate sulfate or some type of sulfate, and that will actually show you that they are actually using this. So unfortunately, a lot of your legacy brands still use it. They have not changed at all. It's actually very few of us that are doing things the right way, I believe. You know, in our Zero, we don't have SLS, titanium dioxide, we don't have fluoride, we don't have all the crazy coloring and stuff, but we do have all the good stuff that's science backed, like xylitol or nanohydroxyapatite. Another cool thing is our biotech product. We're the first in the world to ever do a nanolipid emulsion that actually directly targets the bacteria that cause oral disease for once. So I don't know, maybe just because it's sudsy doesn't mean it's good. And definitely don't think really brushing your mouth out with soap is probably gonna do much at all. In fact, if it's an antibacterial soap, it may kill all your bacteria in your mouth, which is bad. We actually have a lot of good bacteria we don't want to kill. And that's actually the reason why we're the first ever to do that nanolipid emulsion. It's a biotech product that actually only destroys the bad bacteria without harming the good bacteria. It's the first of its kind. It's actually really awesome. Someone did bring up, she said, can't you just get a toothpaste soap bar instead of an actual soap? But that's actually funny because that actually would be kind of cool. But it would get kind of messy after a while, though, wouldn't it? Did you curse a lot when you were little? I think a one-time thing as a punishment is different than doing it every single day. And I actually did have to brush my teeth out with soap one day, and it actually didn't taste as bad as I thought it would. And so my mom was like, really? It's not even that big of a deal? And I was like, it's not that bad of a punishment. But I don't know, have you ever brushed your mouth out with soap, and how did you like it? How to do a root canal.
When a tooth is decayed,
let's see how well they do.
Is the only option left. At the start, the dentist injects anesthetic into your gums, so you don't end up screaming in pain later. Once the numbing kicks in, the dentist uses a high-speed drill to grind away all the dead enamel and dentin.
Actually, we use a slow-speed drill because it churns up and gets all that decay out of there really good. The high-speed drills are actually meant to kind of like polish up and get all the enamel out. But the actual decay, we use a slow-speed round burr most of the time.
After a full round of drilling, the tooth looks clean and
okay, it's all cleaned up. We see
the more intense part.
You can actually see the canals down inside. And fun fact, this whole area that you're seeing, this kind of hollow out circle area, that's where the pulp of the tooth actually was. So that's where there would be some red stuff, some nerves, some gunk, all that, but it's all been decayed and basically rotted down.
The dentist places a red rubber dam around.
Okay, so we put the rubber dam around the tooth. That's actually to make sure that it's nice and clean and nothing from underneath gets in and infects the area. So you can actually see that's pulling the dead nerve remnants out. And now they're going in with a file to kind of clean out the roots. You can see there's 2 roots on this tooth. That one's a 3-root tooth where you can kind of see the heart shape there.
Are washed out. Next, absorbent paper points are used.
Put some bleach in there to clean it up. We've got these little paper points to clean out all the bleach.
Is placed to fill the empty canal space.
Those little orange things are called gutta percha. They basically just kind of fill the holes, and then now we're going to be filling in the pulp chamber, which is where the nerve was.
Dentist etches the tooth surface with mild phosphoric acid.
Okay, we're etching it with the blue stuff to get ready for the filling material, and then we're going to do this in layers because if you do it all at once, it will actually shrink and contract. So you got to build it in layers, so it stays good. And then he's doing the final polishing there, and that is the tooth.
Shaving it down slightly and covering it with a custom.
And then we put the crown on top. Look at it go.
If you don't want to go through root canal pain, make sure you brush properly every day.
That's true. Definitely a root every day. You need to be brushing your teeth and doing it. Because the problem with root canals is it only is because you let that cavity get worse and worse and worse. You see, if you have a cavity in this area where it's only in the enamel, you can actually fix it with something like a nanohydroxyapatite toothpaste, something like us. We can actually remineralize that area and get rid of it. Now the problem is if you let it go from here to go inside the tooth or from top inside the tooth, it's going to start to eat away at everything and then get into this pulp chamber, and then the disease, like you can see here, follows down this and then comes out the end. And that's actually what happens if you leave your cavity there. So early ones you can actually fix before it gets through the enamel just by brushing. And then if it gets through a little bit, you want to go ahead and get the cavity filling done before it reaches all that stuff in the center of your tooth. Because trust me, nobody wants to get a root canal. All right, I'm pretty sure I've seen this girl before. Oh man, yeah, it's getting worse. Lost more of this tooth today. I'm not a professional, but I'd say it's not looking good. And in the comment she says, I couldn't even withstand some mac and cheese. So yeah, I mean, that's obviously not good, right? If your teeth are rotting and falling apart like this, unfortunately not doing anything to them and letting them go, kind of like we talked about earlier, if you're starting here and you have a little cavity and then you have a big cavity and then it's filling in everywhere, well, it's going to start to eat away the pulp. It's going to start to go down the root canal. It's about to start causing all these issues. And it's not just that, but it happens with your teeth as well. In fact, you can start out healthy and that gum tissue will start to eat away and drop down, and you can actually see it here. You know how you start here and then your bone and everything starts getting eaten away until, guess what? You can just pull the thing out. And if you pause it and look at her canine, I mean, that was her canine tooth, and the whole front of it is completely gone now, which means that a lot of sugar or acid or something is getting on the front of these teeth that's really causing all this decay, and it's not stopping anytime soon. That is kind of wild though. That tooth is literally in half, which I understand why she's in so much pain. And regardless of what caused this, she needs to get it fixed. She needs to go to a dentist. She needs to get a lot of these things pulled. She's probably gonna have to get a majority of her teeth on the upper pulled and probably go into some type of partial denture or implant supported denture. But even then, if she's not taking care of it or whatever is causing this, it's probably just gonna cause the implants to fail as well. And a lot of people say genetics is an issue. It's actually not. It's the bacteria that your family is passing around. So it's kind of like familial because you're all spreading the bacteria with each other. So if somebody has a high amount of strep mutans, which is the main bacteria that causes cavities in your family, and they give it to everybody else, well, now they all have the ability to get high. So it's not actually genetics, it's just the bacteria or the oral microbiome. That's actually why we created the first ever biotech toothpaste in the world, the Zero Pro that we have, because it uses that nanolipid emulsion. It's the first ever in the history of oral care that actually specifically only targets one type of bacteria. We actually have two nanolipid emulsions. One targets strep mutans, which causes cavities. The other causes gum disease, which is P. gingivalis. Regardless of what happens, she still needs to get this fixed because it's too far gone. Oh my gosh, Chris says, I'm a professional now, hold still. Now, I mean, we're not gonna be punching people in the face here, but she is probably gonna have to get some of those teeth knocked out. And then Kay says, dental assistant here, decay can be caused for several other reasons other than poor hygiene, like pregnancy, true, increases acid, certain medications, yeah, dry mouth and causes a better area for that bacteria to eat away at your teeth. It does say genetics here, but that's not true. It's not actually genetics, it's the bacteria like we talked about. Why you gotta be so mean? Yeah, I mean, it's true. We don't wanna be mean here, guys. We don't know her situation. We don't know how she got into this. So yeah, you don't wanna judge, but unfortunately, regardless of if you're judging, not judging, anything in between, it doesn't mean that it's not real. The problem is not there and she doesn't need to get it fixed. So brush your teeth, and I would definitely recommend brushing with our Zero Pro so you're getting rid of that bacteria at the same time you're taking care of everything else. All right, we got an update.
I'm trying just about everything to get this popcorn out of my throat, and today we're trying a water flosser.
So obviously you guys know my thoughts on water flossers in the back of the throat. I mean, that's actually why we created the first ever water flosser that has the dual motor mode that actually is that safe, soft motor for flushing out the tonsil stones in the back. I've never seen someone do a popcorn kernel, but I can guarantee you that a regular water flosser like she's gonna get is gonna be really painful because they're not meant for that. They're meant to blast through hard teeth tissue. Definitely not meant to be going back into the back of the throat. So let's see how she does.
Oh God! Have you ever used a water flosser before?
Yeah. They're meant for between the teeth like that. They're definitely not meant for in the back of the throat.
Oh, that sucks. Something of color just came out.
So yeah, I know what that color stuff was. It was probably, you bleeding because it damages your throat, and actually, like you just said, it hurts your throat and it sucks. And now you're in the ER. But here are my thoughts on stuff like this. So one, she said she got a popcorn kernel stuck in her throat. And I'm sure a lot of people have had stuff stuck in their throat before. Fun fact, almost always there's not something stuck in your throat actually. If it scratches your throat or cuts your throat, well, it's gonna leave this kind of itchy, scratchy sensation that feels like there's something stuck in the throat, when in reality, there's nothing in there. So more than likely, she could be shooting water down into nothing and getting nothing out of it. Now, number two is she's gonna damage it and make it worse by using a regular water flosser. There's a reason we made our AquaClean Duo and why it's one of the top selling water flossers in the world, is because it was not meant for just teeth bashing, which is what a regular water flosser does. It has the high powered modes for flossing in between and doing all that. And then we have the safe motor mode, which actually goes into the flushing with the patented nozzle tips and everything to actually flush out the tonsil stones and the back of the throat, areas like that. It's actually meant for that. If you're using a high powered water flosser, you're just going to literally damage, poke holes in, and hurt and cause more problems. And more than likely, there wasn't even a problem in the first place. She probably just needed to let it heal up and let that stuff get out of the way. Now, if she physically sees it and it's in her tonsil, it may not actually be a popcorn ball or kernel. It could be a tonsil stone, in which this case, AquaClean Duo would be great for that. I know you guys have been asking for this to restock for the past like 2 years or 6 months or wherever, how long it's been. And guess what? Version 2 is going to be coming out soon in the next couple weeks. So be looking out for that. But if this girl wants one, she can find me, and then we'll try and send her one of the new ones when it comes out. And if the popcorn kernel is still in there and causing problems. Oh my gosh. Wait, what is that thing there? Oh my gosh. Wait, what am I watching? This is all happening so fast. Oh my gosh, so this is from an account called Doc Noy. It says in the caption, DIY braces bad result, which in that case, That's pretty wild. And so actually the first thing you're seeing there where they're kind of pushing with their tongue here is actually, that's mostly a broken off tooth, a rotted out tooth. And in the front, if we go to the next part, oh, that's crazy, bro. Her teeth are literally falling out of her face. This is wild. This is one of the most gnarly videos I've seen in a while. So yeah, I think it would be helpful to once again go back to the thing. So if you have a healthy tooth like this one, well, if you leave it, the bone and everything is gonna start dissolving away, and then you'll see that there's nothing left in there. So if it's rotted out and moving and things like that, well, guess what? That bone and everything is gonna dissolve away with it. And then if there's nothing left to hold it, then yeah, I mean, you can literally just pull it out. Another thing is, if you're doing these DIY braces, a lot of people don't know this, but braces have prescription in them. And the prescription is torque and tilt and tip and all these things. And so if you put the wrong bracket prescription on, you put them upside down, you put something that's meant to do this upside down, and now it's gonna pull things out the wrong way, you can actually do this where you rotate and you pull the teeth out of the bone, doing things in a wrong fashion if you don't know what you're doing. So yeah, I mean, DIY braces, plus the other thing too is if you're trying to move teeth on already unhealthy teeth, meaning that you already have some decay, you have some bad root resorption, periodontal disease, and then you just go slapping braces on it, it exacerbates that problem, makes it 10 times worse, 10 times quicker. So I believe I watched this video a little bit longer. She said that she had these on there for 16 years without getting them removed. That's another issue that I see with people doing DIY braces is once they try and pop off the brackets, they realize that there's glue left on their teeth and they don't know how to get the glue off. And they're too afraid to go to the dentist to get the glue off because then they're gonna find out that they did DIY braces. It's not good any way you look at it. Exactly what I'm talking about. That face, and then my face while watching. That really was my face. I think you could probably go back and pause. I was probably like this. I was like, ugh. Danica said, so she did her own braces. I'm assuming the braces pulled her teeth down and out because of the placement. Like, I don't know how this works. Well, it's probably a lot of things. More than likely, it's just because she never took care of her teeth and let them rot out and never took care of them over the 16 years. Plus the braces on top of it with maybe some bad torques and a bunch of other crazy stuff, making it even harder to keep them clean. And well, now you see where it goes from there. Either way, if you're thinking about doing DIY braces or going to, any of the crazy ones that we've seen on this channel, well, that would be a bad idea because, I want you to keep your teeth forever and not end up in zombie land like that, because those are some crazy looking choppers. All right, in. What are you guys tagging? My bro is like that old Nickelodeon cartoon show, The Angry Beavers. Oh my gosh, he's like really doing that. What is the reason? What is the reason? My guess is there is some, I don't know. I'm not a tree expert. I wish Tree Expert was in here, but I do know that, normally sometimes you can take the bark off a tree and underneath you can get the sap or sweet stuff or whatever. I don't know, maybe something medicinal, I'm not sure. But what I do know is that your teeth are not tools. That's right, Justin Bieber over here. That's right, Justin Bieber, that's a good one. Oh my gosh. Anyways, your teeth are not tools, okay? If you do this to trees on a daily basis, you will grind them down and will completely probably wreck them eventually over time. In fact, interesting enough, when you're born, you have these things called mamelons. There's these little squiggly bits on the bottom of your teeth, and you do grind them off just naturally over time, and that's why our teeth are straight. But if you notice someone with like a big open bite or an override or something like this, and they never touch, well, they still have those mamelons. This guy definitely doesn't have his mamelons. Me when the palm of my hands get itchy. That actually is something. I have done that before. That's crazy. I know you guys have done that too. Oh, dang, Craig says, oh, that's Justin Bieber. I thought I was being smart. Dang. Maybe I should have donated more than 39 cents to that late night commercial. Guys, these comment sections are just getting crazy these days. But yeah, I don't think I have to worry about you guys gnawing into trees, but don't do that. All right, when you ask for a gold crown instead of that boring port, like, okay, hey, get it, hey. I actually have no issue with this at all. It's funny because, there was this big thing to go away from gold crowns to the tooth-colored crowns for aesthetics. People didn't want the gold teeth anymore. That being said, there is still a lot of people that still ask for gold teeth throughout this entire time. Fun fact, I personally think that gold teeth are the best. Literally, one of the best restorations you can physically get in your mouth is gold. They last a ton. They seal really well. They look really cool. They don't crack and break like a porcelain or a zirconia or anything like that. I really, really, really like gold crowns. It's just the only reason we got rid of them was solely because of aesthetics. That was it, and probably cost, because now it probably costs way, that's like a $10,000 crown these days. Jesus, why did gold go up so high? But yeah, if you're rich enough now to get a gold crown, I would say get a gold crown over zirconia, because why not? I think it lasts better and you get to go bling bling on it. See, look at this. Walking in Memphis says, as a dentist, this is actually actually a superior restorative material, which I agree. And Amanda says, my daughter wanted silver caps. It looks so badass. I wanted to. You know, I think it's a good look. Then we got Caleb Kane down here, says he's got a gold crown on his baby tooth on the front. Look at that. Now that's probably not the smartest, you know, because baby tooth will fall out and then you're gonna just, well, you're gonna have a gold tooth. You know, I bet you guys didn't know this, but you can take gold crowns from teeth and stuff, and you can actually melt that down and get the restorative metal cost for it. And if you didn't know, dental gold is not pure gold. Pure gold's too soft. So actually dental gold is not worth as much as like the gold you would buy from a pawn shop, but still, regardless. And then we got two scared debt collectors would repo my tooth. Yeah, you gotta watch out for that. Pay your bills or else they're gonna just rip your tooth out. They're gonna have that one Samoan guy rip your tooth out. You remember that guy? Yeah, that's crazy. Either way, I like gold crowns.
Steve owes me $100,000. I said he could keep the $100,000 if he just takes 5 laxatives. So what do you say, Steve? No? Rather pay the $100,000? 5 laxatives for $100K?
Okay, first off, who's taking laxatives for $100,000? But I think I understand why you guys tagged me in this, and I think it has to do with Mr. 6'9" over here. Now, as you guys can see from Mr. 6'9's teeth here, is they look just different. Something is just a little different. That's why you guys keep tagging me in this all the time. You know, I was like, I thought it was laxatives at first. I was like, what do I gotta do with laxative? And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, it's the chompers. And so the reason why they look off is because I don't know if these are veneers. I don't think they're actually veneers. I think they're composite veneers, which is basically like a buildup on top of the tooth. And there's a couple things that stand out that make me believe that. So one, if you look at the teeth, they're just unnaturally white. They're like thick white, like a toilet bowl seat, versus like your natural teeth or porcelain is very like see-through. It's got some light refraction bouncing off of it. And this is just like, boom, one color, one shade, white, no translucency, no optics to it. And so that tells me it's probably some type of composite, which if you don't know is a way that you do no prep veneers. Basically you put on the glue and then you pop it in, you shape it, and then you cure it. The other thing is it just looks really bulky to me, really bulky, kind of holding everything out there. And the reason that is because, well, you don't shave down the tooth like a normal veneer. So when you shave down the tooth of a normal veneer, it replaces the tooth structure that you just removed, making it the same kind of shape as your natural tooth. But when you do a composite veneer, you actually build that up over the top of the tooth, making your tooth, if it's this thick, it becomes thicker. And when it gets a thicker tooth, well, it just looks thicker. And then at some point it looks unnaturally thick. And I think that's kind of what we got going on here with Mr. 6'9". Now, if these are composite veneers, what he would need to do is just get them removed and get somebody who's really good at doing composite veneers and get those done there, because there are some really good people that are really good at doing the shade matching and then the different translucencies, and they can make it look really real. There's also 3D printed, you know, veneers that can go on the top that look really good too. And he could also get traditional veneers, or he could even get braces and a little bit of enameloplasty. But either way, all of those will make it look better than that kind of thick, white, bulky composite crown that you see here. Oh my gosh, you got people clowning him in the comments with the, oh man, the caveman guy, really guys? Now, one thing I would say is not fair to make fun of people for their teeth, because, you know, it's probably aesthetically driven and he thinks, you know, a certain way about his teeth. He's conscious about it and he's trying to get that over, and, you know, making fun of him is not very nice. But I would say give him some, I think he could look better for sure if he would take them off and get them done properly somewhere. More than likely he got these done somewhere, I don't know, but whoever did it, not my favorite look in the world. But I don't know, what do you guys think? Okay, what do we got here? God dang, fireworks going everywhere. And you can see all the way back there, can't you? So obviously you guys are probably tagging me in this for one reason and one reason only, and that is, you know, you can really see up in there. And, you know, funny thing is a dentist, we can really tell a lot about your mouth just by there. So, I mean, look at when we're all the way wide open there, what do we see? So a couple things we can see is she's got crowding here in the front. It looks like she's also missing a tooth in the back. But one of the major things that we can tell is about your arch form. Now, when I say dental arch, I actually mean, you see how this shape is here. And you can have a couple different variations of this if you just look up and look in a mirror. Now, she actually has a fairly good rounded arch, even with the crowding and everything. That means that her tongue can fit pretty well and everything's looking pretty good. Now, you can have two other versions too. One is a narrow or a V-shaped arch. These people have a very narrow arch there, and this just means that we just didn't get quite the development of that upper arch that we want, which probably is gonna lend to tongue not getting in where it needs to, airspace problems, things like that. Another one we can have is somebody who's like almost overdone it a little bit, and they have have a square arch, which is like this. And that's due to a couple things. A lot of times it's because of a lot of pressure here on the front, and it kind of flattens up the front teeth, kind of creating this square look. It's when you have really tight lips and everything like that, that can really kind of drag things back into that square arch formation. But we want you to get this kind of rounded, kind of little arch there. And she actually has a pretty good one, even though she's got a little bit of crowding and a missing tooth. I mean, you can learn so much just from a crazy video of some lady yelling at a concert. And actually, I have no idea what she's saying or what concert she's at, but it looks like she's having fun. Yeah, that's exactly what she looks like with the ha ha ha. That's kind of crazy. Oh my gosh, they got a freaking plankton down there. That's funny. Seriously though, she really was getting after it, man. Some people really love concerts, I guess. Wow. Alrighty. Ooh, we got, that is actually a real tooth, funny enough. Yeah, what you're seeing there is all that cavitation, that nastiness. Really cleaning it up, getting a rubber dam on there. It looks like we're doing a root canal. So we actually do want to clean out the roots, the inside the roots there, and that's what those little drills are slowly doing, is shaping the canal and making it nice and smooth. And that's because when you put the gutta percha and things in there, you really want it to fit really nicely. So you can see them sliding in those to fit them so they're nice and snug. And then from there, what you normally do is you heat it, and that's what he's doing right there with a little heater to heat that glue and push it down in there. And now he's putting some fiber post, it looks like, because there's so much of the tooth gone, you need something strength there in the middle. And then he's putting composite on there. He's building it down now into a crown prep. So he's drilling that down into a crown prep now to put a crown on top, doing a little impression there. And then now he's going to be seating the crown here, and there it is. Popping that bad boy on, and oh my gosh. That's actually really good. I mean, look at that before and after. I mean, you really look at it. That thing is decayed like crazy. I mean, look, it's black, it's nasty, and that's kind of what happens to dentin as it gets eaten by that bacteria Strep mutans. Fun fact, the bacteria Strep mutans is the only thing that causes cavities, and it's just going in there and eating away. It's almost like you have termites in your mouth and your teeth are made of wood. And so it's just going in there and just eating, and that's what it looks like when it's all decayed and nasty, is this kind of, we call it caseous or cheese-like substance. It's kind of crazy. And then you can see the ending there, and it's crazy because it looks just like a real tooth again. And you know, I think people are underappreciating dentists because it is basically an art form. We are sculptors in our own way, and we do a lot of art every day in the dental chairs. And even orthodontists, you know, I specialize into orthodontics now, and it's an art form to get everybody's teeth straight and getting it perfect and parallel and smile arcs and all that type of stuff. It's really cool. So if you're artistic and you love health, then maybe dentistry is a better way of doing things than you know, medicine. So I mean, I really like dentistry a lot. So I don't know, what do you guys think? Glossy says there must be a better way. Well, you know, hopefully in the future with all this biotech stuff coming out, we can solve oral disease completely and you'll never have to get a root canal. But until then, you know, this is kind of the best we got. We might be able to get some little nano robots working there eventually. Maybe 3D printing is gonna get so good that we could just 3D print stuff really well. But yeah, I mean, it's just the sky's the limit now with all the AI stuff. We're gonna see technology go so fast here. But either way, super cool, and really cool for you guys to see it and appreciate what a dentist does on a daily basis. RIP to my best party trick. Oh my goodness, great. She's getting a whole dang finger through there. Well, that is wild. Oh my gosh. So, yeah, first off, holy moly, pause it right there. You see that finger just going right through, and that is a party trick indeed. So obviously, you know, this girl has probably been through some stuff. She looks really young, okay? She's missing multiple teeth on both sides. And if you really look here in the front, you can see this little dark patch between these two front teeth and over here. Those are all cavities. That's actually cavities between the teeth that have gotten so big and gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, they turn black and you can really see them there. Now, I'm looking at the caption here. It says, crazy to think I can't do this anymore. Dental, hashtag implants. So my guess is she got a lot of these teeth removed, fixed, and implants in and fixed all this, but this is where she was before her little party trick. Now, why does this happen? Well, there's a lot of reasons why this could happen. Two of the main reasons are just dental neglect, which is normally due to when you grow up, your parents just don't teach you how to brush your teeth. And so you don't brush your teeth, you don't get in the good habits of that, and guess what? You end up losing your teeth over time, and that's how someone this young can actually lose teeth. And another one is obviously different recreational drugs and things like that can cause a lot of teeth loss and, you know, bad stuff like that. Not saying she did that at all, but that is another main way that we can see whenever younger people lose a lot of teeth, that tends to be what it is. It's either drugs or it's just dental neglect from childhood. But either way, it looks like she got it fixed up and she's back on track, which is the number one thing for these people is like, you're gonna live the rest of your life. You're super young. And so if you need to get into a dentist now, just get whatever you can fixed, done, taken care of, and then especially get implants in those missing teeth areas so that bone doesn't dissolve over time, and set yourself up for a good rest of your life. We are working on some crazy things. I mean, in Japan, they're like regrowing tooth buds and all this crazy biotech stuff. So we very well might be able to find a way in the future to regrow all of these teeth back. But until then, we gotta take care of what we got. My party trick was sticking my lip behind my 2 front teeth and talking like Bugs Bunny. What's up, Doc? Wait, did I do it right? Peter says, go in to brush my teeth now. And yes, I think that's one thing we could all learn from it is just, brush and floss the teeth that you want to keep forever, or else you're gonna lose them. But all right, you guys tag me in. Oh my gosh, look at that. That is not diamond braces. We saw some of those diamond braces earlier, but look at those gold braces. That's actually crazy. Let's pause it there and take a look. Okay, so she has not all gold braces, interestingly enough, only in the visible areas. And then when you're not visible, they're using silver brackets, which is kind of interesting there. I actually really like these gold braces. And yes, if you did not know, they do make gold colored braces. And the coolest thing to me is when we looked at these, they actually show them on the same exact tooth color. And they actually do make your teeth look a lot whiter. I don't know if it's because they're more yellow and so they're making your teeth look whiter comparatively, but they do make your teeth look whiter. The only issue that I've found is that from far away they can kind of look like you got some yellow gunk in your teeth sometimes, and 2, they don't really carry them in the newer type of self-ligating braces that we use, so we don't have to extract on people and all that type of stuff. So there is really only a certain subset of people that offer these, and it's not quite a lot. And for me personally, I would rather use the best technology on you to give you the best result for that Hollywood smile that you're gonna have for the rest of your life, instead of just having some gold fun shiny stuff on. Let's see what people say in the comments though. Ethan said gold braces are so expensive, and actually that's not the case. I mean, they're maybe slightly more expensive, but they really aren't too. But it's really because they're using the old school style brackets versus the new ones. So actually these are probably cheaper than the good stuff, which is like the self-ligating brackets. It says every time bro smile, money. Yeah, I know. I mean, it does definitely elevate the look for sure. It makes it look fancier for sure. I don't know. Would you guys rather have gold brackets or would you rather have diamond brackets? I've seen some of them diamond brackets. They look good too. But hear me out, diamond brackets. If you guys make these in gold, I will get some ASAP. You know what I'm saying? Because we're trying to look good in my clinic. All right, what do we got? Checking the bite with porcelain veneers. Okay, yeah, you guys tagged me a bunch and they said, what the heck is this little paper thing that they're using? And what is the point of them sliding it around? And so you see here we're in the front, we're doing it. We're tapping in the back, and then we're gonna slide again, and look at that, the paper ripped. So exactly what is this? This is bite paper. And so a lot of people in the comments are basically like, I've never seen this. They don't do this to me when I'm in the dental chair. And that's actually probably a good sign, because that means you haven't had really any dental work yet, because this is done after like a crown, veneers, or composite filling or something like that. And what it is we're checking for high spots on the teeth. So when you do this and we're checking the bite, we're seeing what's hitting harder in some areas or lighter in some areas. And a lot of times this is when you get a crown and it's too high, or a composite filling and it's hitting in a weird spot or anything like that. Because if you even hit a tiny bit hard in one little area, it will cause that tooth to be super sore. I can almost guarantee you, for somebody watching this out there, they've gotten a crown, a filling or something, and all of a sudden their teeth feel like it hurts super bad, and they think that they have another cavity or something like that that's going on, when in reality it's just because your crown or your filling that you got is just a little slightly too high. And then we go in there, we see these little dots that it leaves, and then we can polish them away to adjust your bite. And so when she's sliding them there, we're sliding it in the front to make sure that we're not getting anything catching up, because then that means that we're hitting hard somewhere in the front. You don't want to hit really hard on these front teeth. And on the back there, when you get it in there, well, obviously you're going to be biting on your back teeth, so it's going to grip and it's going to hit. But it is what it is. You just don't want it to be too high in certain spots. You want it to be really evened out between everywhere. And the reason you haven't had this done is probably because you haven't had many issues. You haven't had a crown, you haven't had a filling, and you haven't had bite issues that you've complained to your dentist about, to have to check and see if your bite's all wabbajaw. And someone said, I don't understand, doesn't sliding the paper between the teeth ruin the pattern on the bite paper? Not really, it's transferred to the tooth, so you'll see these little blue spots on the teeth, and sliding them is just really just checking to see how is your bite really pressing together or not, or is it pretty loose, which in the front, you want it to slide through because you don't want a lot of heavy contacts there. Someone said, I hate the little paper moment because suddenly I forget how to normally bite. And that actually happens a ton. And in fact, when we tell people in the braces land, hey, go ahead and bite down for this photo, they go like this, right along their front teeth. And that's not actually how you bite. If you want to know your true proper bite, all you have to do is stick your tongue to the roof of your mouth as far back as you can go, put it to the roof of your mouth as far back as you can go, and then bite down. And what that does is we'll pull everything back up into the area that's supposed to and give you your perfect bite. And so from there, you can see if you have issues or not. Either way, another cool thing in the dental office. All right, ortho said they wouldn't fix this gap without paying an extra $2K because my goal was only to straighten the teeth. The 4 braces, I did not have this gap. Okay, let's pause it here at the top. Okay, I see what she's talking about. She's got a little bit of a spacing between her front and back teeth, which means that she probably has what we call a class 2 bite, meaning your upper jaw has maybe grown a little bit too fast, your lower jaw hasn't grown enough, maybe a little bit of both in there, but she obviously has this gap here. Make sure you go to an orthodontist if you're trying to get your teeth straightened and your bite fixed, okay? Because a lot of dental professionals out there are not trained well enough in the orthodontic side. If you guys don't know, when you come out of dental school, you have almost zero training in orthodontics. That means you have no idea what to do, okay? Now, obviously, some dentists do go on and get some CE courses, they get some training, and some of them actually do really good work out there. But in my eyes, from what I've seen, that is the minority. And so what ends up happening is they say, we can straighten your teeth, but they have no idea what the bite issues is, how to fix the bite issues using rubber bands, all these things that we need to do. With this is a pretty easy fix. You just need some rubber bands top to back, pulls them together, and then in a couple months it would be all fixed up. But basically what's happening is the dentist doesn't really know what he's doing probably. He's straightened the teeth as best as he can, and now he's stuck, doesn't quite know what to do, and so he's saying, hey, you gotta pay me some more money because I just came here to straighten these teeth. And so what happens is you get in this crossroads where you're like, I thought you were gonna fix my bite, and they're like, I thought you just wanted me to straighten your teeth. I didn't know there was a difference. And then you end up in a bad situation. Now, if you go to an orthodontist, they will also try and fix your bite. So we are a holistic mouth doctor, right? We're trying to fix the bite. We're trying to make sure the teeth are not in the wrong spots. We're also trying to get it Hollywood, perfect smile, symmetrical, all of these things, E-lines, FMAs, all these crazy things that we're looking at to make sure that your bite and your mouth and everything that you have is perfect and healthy. And I wish I didn't have to say that, but I see this all the time where people come from dentists, they come to our orthodontist, and then we have to fix the bite issues that they leave be. Now, once again, I don't want to say every dentist is bad at orthodontics because they're not. There are some probably that are really good at orthodontics, but still it's a decision that I've seen cost patients thousands of dollars having to get it refixed by an actual orthodontist. And then this girl says, literally all you had to do is change 4 brackets and the ones where you can wear bands. And yeah, I mean, we don't have to get into semantics of it. She probably just needed some rubber bands, some slight changes. But then I also want to say that it can be some other things. Maybe she was delinquent, maybe she never showed up, maybe she never paid, and maybe the guy's just tired of her and trying to get her out. That could very well be a possibility too that we can't deny here. Then another girl says, girl, sue him, get sued for $5K, another $5K to get it fixed, another $5K for emotional damage, another. Okay, let's not go crazy here. It's not that deep. If you really feel like you're wronged here and the dentist knows that you're gonna go to another orthodontist and they're gonna be like, what the heck are you doing here? And yes, we can see all of the history and all of the notes. So if you were delinquent on payments or not doing what you're supposed to be, not showing up, we're gonna also see that too. And we will call you out on that. If they were doing something wrong like that, they're probably gonna give you some money back, or it's not a big deal. You know, they will get it figured out, trust. But your best line of defense, like I said, is going to an actual specialist who actually knows what they're doing, whose full job is to do this in a holistic manner, the bite and the look of the bite, okay? Me, when my braces
so what does this
giving
mean?
me
Does
an
this
even
mean I
bigger
literally
gap
just bought Ratatouille for nothing?
Okay, yeah, I totally understand this. Basically, this is a rare case, and more than likely, your braces did not give you that gap more than likely. It's actually probably an expander, because that is the #1 reason I see gaps form in people. Because if you did not know, your upper skull is actually made of 2 pieces. The maxilla is actually 2 different parts that are completely unseparated down the middle. And in fact, in the looks maxing trend circles, people are trying to do stuff about this by doing this thing called thumb pulling. Put their thumbs and they'll try and pull apart. Unfortunately, does not really work because you need full force and you need it located and you need it consistent over a long time. So unless you're gonna be thumb pulling your entire day, all day long, it's probably not gonna do what you think it does. But anyways, what we do is we put this rapid palatal expander up in the roof of your mouth, and then you use this key and you turn it, and it will push and push and push those 2 pieces of your upper bone away from themselves. So when that suture breaks down the middle and everything shifts and moves, well, a gap forms. And sometimes you can get gaps the whole width of 1 whole tooth there in the middle. And so yes, especially if you've got an expander like this, at the very beginning, you will get a little bit of a gap as they're trying to expand out that palate. Now, luckily for you, it will go away pretty quickly, because once you stop moving, all of those PDL fibers will pull those teeth back together and they'll start to close up. A lot of the time that gap will close up on its own even, but then you're gonna be in braces, so we're gonna fix it with power chains and other things like that anyways. Like, exactly, she just said, update, I just got power chains. Exactly, that's the next phase. You get the wires up to the right size and then you put the power chains on there, close them all up. So trust me, it's not not a forever thing. You're not gonna definitely have that gap forever unless you want it. There is some patients I've had sometimes they're like, I want to keep my gap. Don't you dare take it away from me. And then he was like, girl, trust the process. I had it too. Exactly. It's a pretty common thing. So like I said, there's a lot of weird things that happen in braces and orthodontics. I mean, you're gonna see teeth shift in a lot of different places. And we even have a saying that says it's gonna look worse before it looks better sometimes, you know. Trust the process. If you went to an orthodontist that's trained and has a master's and everything, trust me, they know what they're doing. It may take a little bit of time to get there, but I promise you by the end, you'll have that Hollywood smile that you've always wanted. Still, I get it, it's a little scary. What we got there? Oh, 2 rows of teeth. Oh my gosh, well look at that. That is a very interesting thing to look at. This is actually kind of common, not normally for 4 teeth, but it is definitely for 1. And see what happens is you have baby teeth, right? And normally those roots will start to close up, and then they'll fall out. That's what a normal process is, the baby tooth. And then the permanent teeth will come up right directly underneath them as they dissolve and then take their place. Now sometimes these baby teeth, which you can see this front row here, in these baby teeth, they don't dissolve and so they don't come out. And so instead of this tooth coming in up underneath it, it gets deflected in one way or the other. Now, if it gets deflected in front, you get those things called snaggle tooths, where they come out in the front of the tooth, which is kind of weird. But in her case, it deflected back behind and ended up coming up a whole row behind the other teeth. So what do you do in this position? Well, it's actually a lot easier than you think. You would just have these 4 baby teeth removed here in the front, and then the back teeth with her tongue over time would probably just push forward. And so in this case, because it's on the lower, I really wouldn't do much other than just pull those baby teeth and leave her for 6 months to 12 months and see what happens. My guess is the tongue of her pushing will start to push those teeth forward and get them back in a better area. Now, eventually when she's 11 or 12, she's probably gonna have to go into full braces and get everything fixed. We're already seeing some wonkiness going on up top. So there's definitely something going on that we would probably need to fix with braces and true orthodontics around 11 or 12. But for now, we would just remove those teeth and then let it all self-correct on its own. And look at this first comment right here. We said, I had this growing up. They used to laugh at me. Thankfully, when my front teeth got removed, they shifted in place. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. If you just take them out there, more than likely your body will shift them into place. We actually see this with the people with tongue thrusts when they swallow as kids with their tongue through the middle and they end up going way out here. All we do is we put a little guard on there so that they can't do that anymore, and the lips and tongues just push it all right back once you start swallowing properly. So, I mean, you can reset a lot of problems. I mean, your body is literally built in to fix these issues with proper mechanics and stuff like that. It happened to me. My mother tied me up and unplugged them. Let's not do that, I don't think. That sounds like abuse, not gonna lie. And someone said, I'm sorry, why are people blaming the parents? I'm lost. I didn't see any blaming of the parents there. But yeah, as a parent, if you've seen this, there's nothing you did wrong. It's just naturally the occurrence of stuff and the baby teeth just came in the wrong spot. You're at a dentist. Guess what? The dentist is now telling you what you need to do to fix it. I don't see any issues here. I don't know. Maybe somebody can clue me in on that one. Either way, it still looks pretty gnarly, doesn't it? Please tell me I'm not the only one who had these flexible retainers. Wait, what? Girl? I hate to tell you this. That's not a retainer. Yeah, I mean, looking at it from the front, that is what we call a whitening tray. Okay, so you make this flexible little whitening tray that's got these little pockets in the front there, and you put your little hydrogen peroxide gel in there and you can slide it on there. There's specific material that we make for the purpose of just whitening, basically. That's not gonna straighten or hold anything as a retainer because, well, it's not strong enough. You see, there's actually special plastics, and Invisalign went through a ton of work to basically get their plastic made with theirs. And you know, even retainers have a different plastic as well. It's a little thicker to hold versus move things. If you've been wearing that as your retainer for the past long time, I hate to tell you this, it has not been retaining anything. Now, as a whitening tray, yeah, it does pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. Oh, that's funny, she said, as a dental student, that's a whitening tray. The hard plastic one is the retainer. I'm sorry if you've been wearing this for a long time and wondering why your teeth have been shifting after braces, because, well, that's not gonna do anything. And someone said, coming from the daughter of a dental assistant, it sounds like they might have accidentally given you whitening trays. You put the spacey stuff in them and say in 1 hour, if you go back, tell them their mistake. And then she said, the problem is my brother got one too, so we might change orthodontist. You know, sometimes when you're done with braces, we give you both, because guess what you want to do once your braces are off? most people want to whiten their teeth. And so if you paid for whitening after your treatment is done, you're going to get a retainer, which is the hard plastic one, and then you get a whitening tray to whiten your teeth. And now some people actually whiten in their retainers, and that's a whole nother theory, and that's actually not a bad deal too. I mean, the whitening trays are made so they can fill little pockets of gel there on purpose. But yeah, so maybe I'm guessing there was just probably a mix up somewhere, and maybe they didn't educate you as good as they should have, which does unfortunately happen with doctors sometimes. Although I don't know, maybe there is a soft retainer out there I don't know about. Maybe another doctor or orthodontist can chime in here and let me know. Maybe I've missed something. Maybe we have a new soft retainer out there that I don't know about, which very well could be a possibility. Oh great, bedazzling my bestie's stuff until she realizes, oh no, you bedazzled the holly. Wait, did you bedazzle it on the inside too, or just the outside? Please tell me you didn't do it on the inside too. Oh my gosh, she did. She ruined it. Okay, so obviously, yeah, that's not gonna work out very good. So one, because you know, well, you're gonna have super glue up on your mouth and it's gonna be whatever. Now, if she would have just bedazzled one side of it, it still could have seated in place and it still could have worked even though you're not supposed to put super glue in your mouth, you know? But the second she bedazzled the inside of it, well, that's where it fits up against your teeth and the shape of your mouth. And if you get stuff on there, well, guess what? It's not gonna fit anymore. So basically, instead of bedazzling your bestie's stuff, you just ruined $250, you know, on one of these, because these things are actually more expensive to make than the clear retainers are. And if you guys don't know what this is because you've never seen one of these before, this is an old school type of retainer called a holly retainer. We don't really use these anymore. It's really just older school, you know, orthodontists from the 70s that, you know, made these that still never want to change and they're still using it. There is some use cases for them, but it's pretty rare. Most of the time, those clear retainers are your best bet with retainers, but still, either one retainer, you're not supposed to be bedazzling. Someone's going to get sued. You know, why we gotta go to suing everybody for everything right out of the first gate? Maybe not. Let's just have let's have a conversation first, okay? And someone said, these are so expensive though, when $100 some gone in the trash. And yeah, I mean, exactly. That's like minimum $150 gone, just toast. That's funny. Someone said, girl, no, it's gonna hurt more than it did before. And then she's right. You try and put that in your mouth, you are gonna cut yourself up and it is going to feel terrible because it's not gonna fit your mouth anymore. But I don't know, let me know what you would do if your bestie did this to your retainer. I don't know, I would be very upset because my mom would be backhanding me upside the face and telling me I owe her $250. So yeah. Right, 100% real braces magic process. Oh my gosh, it's another one of those AI videos, isn't it? That is a closing loop. That is a real thing. But no, it does not work that. So, oh my gosh, let's just watch this through. Okay, so we're moving that canine over, dragging it in, pulling it in. Okay, tooth comes up. Okay. I'm pulling it with the chain over here. Okay, so let's go back and go over here. So the first thing that I see, they're removing that tooth. This closing loop is supposed to be bringing that canine back. If you don't know, this is what's called a transposition. This is where you actually have the tooth in the wrong spot. Now, the way that they're doing this is showing that this canine is just gonna magically flip over this entire tooth and flip it. That's not possible. You can't physically do that. In fact, a lot of the times you lose one of these teeth, or you do what's called a transposition, where you move the canine into where that lateral is and you just leave the, you know, basically the lateral in the canine spot. Sometimes you can get it built up to make it look more like a canine and all those different things. But if you try and move these over each other like that, well, you're gonna end up actually ruining this lateral root and dissolving it a lot of the times, and then it ends up falling out. So yeah, that's not necessarily something that happens. But we'll just pretend that that's okay. You can see there's a little spring on that wire that opens up the space. That is something that we do. We do have a little piggyback wire that goes up and over. That is something that can actually happen. And then that last thing that you see there up in the corner with the little rubber band there is what we call a TAD. Now, it's a temporary anchorage device. And sometimes we can use that to pull back teeth, just not in this similar scenario. So even though these look like it's doing something we could be doing, it's definitely not correct. Alex said the pain will be insane. And yes, if you're doing it like this, you're definitely gonna have some pretty crazy pain for sure. Slime says, how the F did I get here? And yet I wonder the same thing sometimes. Either way, don't worry. This is not gonna happen to you. This is weird AI stuff. Trust me, it's a lot simpler, a lot easier to get you that Hollywood smile you want. All right, braces fit check. Well, you don't see any braces on there. Oh, that's because they're on the inside. Look at that. That's pretty cool stuff. Now, these are what we call lingual braces. I can actually pause it on there so you can see it. And so obviously you guys know the typical versions that we have. Braces on the outside, and then you have invisible aligners like Invisalign. Now, these are called lingual braces, and these are actually, lingual means tongue on in that side. So it's on the side of the tooth that the tongue is on, which is on basically the inside. And so you put these brackets on there, and they use these special wires that are kind of like like this to go in there, and it does work. There's a whole different biomechanical process to do this. You have to get a special kind of continuing education to really learn how to utilize these and do these well. But there are some people that are professionals at this that do it really well. You know, I personally have never been trained in lingual braces, and we don't offer that. A lot of dentists don't offer it. What I noticed was that early on there was a lot of people that were doing this, and it was getting a lot of tongue ripping. You know, your tongue is touching back there all the time. So imagine stuff on your tongue every day, all the time. So that was my big worry about this. But there are newer ones that are a little bit slimmer now that don't, you know, hurt the tongue as much. To be honest though, nobody really cares if you got braces. You've got invisible aligners for the invisible version, which work just as well as probably these lingual braces do. So it's never been something that I decided I wanted to do. But for someone who wants braces and doesn't want to see the braces, then I think it's a pretty good idea, I guess. Just make sure you find someone specialized in it. Says it looks 10 times more painful, and it's not necessarily more painful, although I do hear that there are a big, you know, there's a learning curve at the beginning for your tongue to get used to it, so you could get cut sores, canker sores all over your tongue. So it's pretty miserable for some people, for sure. And just like Birdie said, the tongue is about to be shredded. Yes, it is. But the tongue will toughen up over time, and then you'll get used to it. And then Pixie says, that looks so hard to clean. And actually, I didn't ever think about that. It would be fairly tough to clean. You know, maybe use a water flosser back there or something like that. I don't know. Would you get lingual braces, or would you just stick with the regular braces? All right, we got, it looks like a hydraulic press channel versus a real tooth. Now, teeth are very compressive strength-wise. So let's see, 50 kg, 90 kg, 120 kg, dang, 125 kg. Oh my gosh, this is going very high. We're like, oh, it broke right there. He's going for it again. Dang, all the way up to 335 kilograms of force, and that thing is still not shattering. 400, 500, 600. Oh, and there it goes. Ooh, so 600 kilograms of force. Now, because most of us are American here, I looked that up. So 600 kilograms of force is over 1,300 pounds of force. So imagine putting 1,300 of centralized force directly on your tooth. That's pretty insane. That's what it causes it to crack. And actually, that's pretty wild when you really think about it, how tough your teeth really are. Now, the really crazy part is during the day, you physically can't squeeze that hard. If you try and squeeze really hard like that, your body will physically stop you with pain responses and stuff like that. But at night, guess what? Those clenching and grinders out there, you know who you are? Well, you're completely, your body's physiology does not stop you from squeezing as hard as you want at that time. So you can really squeeze hard, you can grind enough to wear your teeth down hardcore and even crack and break your teeth over time, just like this hydraulic press did. And if your teeth are weak enough, they might even shatter just like that did. Either way, I don't want this to happen to my teeth ever, please. Rusty says, my tooth is aching after watching this. Yes, agreed. That would be very painful. Eugene says, and here I am, I chipped my tooth on a fork. Yeah, see, this is perfect compression strength downward. You can still just bang stuff and chip stuff for sure. Either way, I hope that we're never in the situation that my teeth are in a hydraulic press, like some new saw technique or something like that. Yeah, that better not be in the new movies. 4-year-old braces face. Dang, 4-year-olds getting braces is kind of a big deal. Oh my gosh, he's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. Wait a second. This is not in a dental office. Is that in somebody's like living room? They have a freaking ring light on the back there. They got some like hair stuff. Oh my gosh, I'm pretty sure this mom is just putting braces directly on her little kid's teeth. That's not good. Oh, okay. So I was gonna say down in the bottom, she says we took them off the same day. My daughter loved them. So hopefully she's not doing this to other people. It looks like she put them on and took them off same day. Maybe it was for a costume or something. I don't know. Either way, don't do this. The crazy part is this is really happening. We call it, it's like basement braces or whatever, where you're just going into random places and putting braces on. You would definitely not be doing this on a 4-year-old, one, because they basically only have baby teeth. They don't even have permanent teeth to move at that point. Now, sometimes we do baby teeth, what's called phase 1 therapy. So they're an alright little kid. That's normally around 9 years old, like 7 at the earliest, not 4. We would never put braces on a 4-year-old pretty much. It's really just that 9 years old for phase 1, and then phase 2 would be that 12 to 14 years old. But had me scared there for a second. I thought we were running some type of operation on little kids. Oh my gosh, and Desi says, not you to taking her to buy braces by Brianna. That's all I was gonna say. I was like, God, I hope that's not a thing there. And then Cece says, you put power chains on first. That's a big call out there. You would definitely not put power chains on an early wire right out of the gate. It would just completely collapse and screw all your teeth up really bad. So maybe don't go to a random person to get your braces on. All right. For months, I thought I looked stupid. Okay, so it looks like we're doing a little premolar journey here, a little premolar extraction journey. So as you can see, she's getting some good movement there for sure. All right, so now I want to pause it there at the very beginning where she has her face turned sideways here. You can see she's got some poof out there. We call that bimax protrusion. We got stuff is sticking out. And in this one case, I'm going to do the opposite of what I usually do. Usually I am against taking teeth out. And even in this case, there is definitely a case to be made that you could have done this without taking teeth out. But that being said, there are some people that need to get teeth out. If you have trouble closing your lips and you can't keep them closed because your teeth are so flared out and so out there, you have what's called protrusion, right? And so obviously that's not good. If you can't close your lips, everything is too far out. We do need to retract back and get you back into a good profile. And so taking out 4 teeth here, or taking out 2 teeth in her case, it looks like they only took out the upper 2 teeth. She was so far out this way, and they can bring it back, is really gonna change her profile for the better. And so if you look at it here at the beginning, we definitely see we're really stuck out there. She really can't close her lips, you can say. And then by the end, let's see where she's at. So turn to the side there and look how much her profile has changed. Now, if you're way stuck out here and we pull it back, that ends up normal, looks really good. If you have a normal profile and they're taking teeth out on you, which is happening all the time, unfortunately, well, then you're gonna go back and you're gonna look like an old lady, and that is what we really want to avoid. But that being said, we do still take teeth out on people. It's just very rare. If they have way out here and they can't close their lips and there's nowhere to go, then yes, maybe taking teeth out makes sense. If they're hyper crowded, more than you could ever imagine, even then still I'll probably unravel everything. We'll see how far out it is and then potentially take teeth out. But still, it's a very select group of people that should be getting their teeth out. Not very many people at all. But in this case, you can tell it brought everything back and made her profile look really good, and she ended up with a good result here. M says, it's so cool how braces literally change the whole view of your face. I bet you have confidence, right? She recommends everybody getting them as soon as possible. I also recommend you guys getting braces. I mean, it's awesome to have awesome Hollywood straight teeth. And yes, you can tell that her face and stuff did change for the better in this case. And then Ariana says, hi, did you only extract 2 teeth during your braces treatment? Your results look amazing. And in that case, yes, they did. Now this happens when you have a class 2, big override like this. If everything in the back is looking good, you can just take 2 teeth out and just bring everything back that way. And it will work and get you into a really good position without having to take out too many teeth. Still, really good result, and congrats on your new Hollywood smile. I think the dentist hit a nerve in my eye. What do you mean? Oh my gosh. You guys see that, right? One of his pupils is way bigger than the other. Oh my gosh, those saxophones are definitely indeed lingering and getting louder in the background. So yeah, when, you know, it's not good, you know, no, but for real though, this is not a normal thing at all. So there is this thing, I believe it's called like anisocoria or something. Sorry, it's been a long time since I've looked at this stuff, where you can just naturally have uneven pupils. But if your pupils were normal and then all of a sudden this happened, that can be concerning, okay? That's not a good sign. More than likely they hit the oculomotor nerve or something in, you know, if it's up here and you're hitting it, there's a lot of nerves around. In fact, we've had some where, you know, droopiness and, you know, the whole side of your facial nerve gets numbed, things like that. I've never really seen an oculomotor nerve get hit like this, but that could be something. Another issue is it could be something really severe. You know, normally if I would see this, I would say go to an ER ASAP and just have them check and make sure everything is okay, because this could be a sign of a stroke or an aneurysm or something way worse, you know, so you want to rule those things out. It can also happen from some different medications, but if it just happened right after a dental office, it probably was just a oculomotor nerve hit. I believe it would be the oculomotor nerve, but I'm not 100% sure there. Definitely go to an ER and get that checked out, because that's kind of scary. And no, it is not normal and not something, I have never seen it before. I've seen the droopy face, you know, the paralyzed face, facial nerve thing. It normally just comes back, and hopefully that's the case for him, but I would definitely go get it checked out. Yeah, and so there we go. Cinnamon said, baby, that's anisocoria. And that would be only if it was there all the time. If it just happens out of nowhere, that's not okay. I'm gonna keep scrolling, hope you're okay. Yeah, no, I hope you're okay too. Oh my gosh, and he said, update coming, I can barely see the phone at the moment. Everything is still blurry, but it is improving. Okay, that is telling me that normally it's probably just the anesthetic that hit that nerve, and it probably, if it's improving, it's probably fine. Actually, last one, this one says, I'm a dental hygienist, please get to your nearest emergency room ASAP. Now back to the dentist who did this. Make sure you have a report printed with your own physical copy and make sure that's noted properly. She's getting ready for a lawsuit. Normally these things wouldn't occur into a lawsuit. Like I said, it's probably just gonna go back to normal. Keyword probably. Oh my goodness, what is going on with the back of her throat? Well, I'll tell you, because I'm an orthodontist and a dentist and I know exactly what's going on. This girl got a tonsillectomy. That's right. And fun fact, back in the day, people used to get tonsils out almost all the time. Like your father, your mother, and their grandfather, grandmother, it was like normal. It's like you were born, it's like, tonsil adenoid, pop them out, get them out of there. And then we said, oh, we probably shouldn't do that. Those are like lymph nodes that are like doing something in our body, getting the toxins out of our body. We should probably not do that. And so now it's actually really hard to get a tonsillectomy, actually. You have to have a lot of problems to be able to get your tonsils out these days. But if you do get them out, they will look just like that. Basically where you have this giant crater there. It's just because they laser them out, like they cut them out and then they can cauterize and everything. But the problem is it can actually be pretty dangerous because you form these big giant scabs in the back there, and your whole entire back of your throat is basically covered in these giant scabs. And fun fact, if you do something too aggressive back there and they break, you can actually bleed out. That's right. You can, and it could be a really serious thing. So basically, we don't do this very often anymore. Another big reason is because we used to think you can get it out because your tonsils will actually swell as you get, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then, but fun fact, they shrink after that. So as you get older, they will actually get smaller and become less of a problem as you age. But I do hear that they are one of the most painful, excruciating experiences, mainly the recovery, because you're just like, you can't swallow, you can't eat, can't do anything. You're like, I can't move for a while there as it cleans up. But I don't know, you guys let me know. I've never had tonsillectomy, but you probably have in the comments. You can tell me about it. Lydia said, I had kissing tonsils. Ow, that's insane. I think that's like literally where they're so large, they touch each other in the middle. They can block off your airway and then you can't breathe and you die. I'm just kidding, you don't die. But you can get them removed so you can actually breathe. Oh my gosh, me realizing I had a tonsillectomy, I'm telling you, I don't think I have ever seen somebody that had a tonsillectomy that did not tell me it was one of the worst experiences of their life. And I Love Coffee says, I had a tonsillectomy 20 years ago because I had the worst tonsillitis. And that's true, that is one of the big things. It's like you have to get tonsillitis like every 6 months or within 3 times in 1 year or something like that. They have their things you need to do for an ENT to even approve you to get them out. But maybe just rinse your mouth out with warm salt water or something and instead of having to just get them out completely, that could work. And then remember, they do shrink as you get older and they become less and less of a problem. I should know because I thought I wanted them out and then I didn't, and now I'm older and they're smaller and they're not even that big of a deal.